everybody. I'm just about ready to add Darren. I just wanted to give the little intro before we got started. And also, if at any point in time anybody else wants to join in on the discussion, I have the StreamYard link in the chat. So just, go ahead and click on that if you're interested, and I'll see you backstage. I think we've got room for at least 8 more people. I'm not sure. I think my internet will do okay. I'm not sure about everybody else's internet, how it will do. I know Uncle Bill told me his internet kind of messes up a little bit if there's a lot of people in the stream live. Oh boy. We're gonna have to block the 69 triple X site. Maybe. There we go. Um, I don't know if they just randomly pick people's streams to go into or what the deal is. I mean, I know they're bots, but anyway, back to what I was talking about. That link is in there. If you don't see it and need me to repost it, just let me know, and I will do that. But this is I think, been the most popular week for my dinner with the Palma, because several people said that they were excited about the movies we were going to cover this time. Hey, TJ. Hey, 71. And John Smith is in here too. So, the movies, of course, in case you didn't see the promotion, are Dress to Kill and Blowout. And I just got both of these quite recently on 4K. I will say that the 4K does look really good on both of those, but of course, if you don't have the ability to watch it in 4K, then you're not going to want to spend out that money, and why should you? But if you do have the ability to watch it in 4K, again, I wouldn't say just go out, rush out and buy it and spend that hard earned money just because Dana says that they have nice transfers, because you may have other ideas about that. And I don't want anybody to go, blow their money and then say, well, Dana said that this thing was really good. I'm trying to adjust my camera a little bit, guys. And then, get kind of aggravated because you went and spent money because you didn't think it was up to snuff. So that's why I always add that to, when I say something looks really good, I always like people to make their own determination on that. So also the dinner portion of the stream. This is this is not a full size sub from Penn Station, as you can tell, but I thought that the snack size, which is something new, I think that they're offering, would be appropriate for this, since I've already ate my dinner and all that stuff. Now, Darren said he probably wouldn't be participating in the dinner portion because it's in the wee morning hours there. So I said, yeah, I don't expect people to be eating, like pizza and fast food sandwiches and sub sandwiches and stuff way early in the morning. So 71, you say Dress to Kill was great. I agree completely. TJ, you say I'm eating pasta and meatballs. So since these are basically Italian giallos, LOL. Yeah, that is cool. I think I put in the description that it was going to be like city food theme, like a lot of the stuff that you would see on the streets of New York or something, things like hot dogs and sandwiches and slices of pizza and things like that. But you can get creative. I mean, nothing says that we got rules around here. So I think that's a good idea, TJ. If you feel like eating pasta and meatballs right now, then I say that's groovy with me. Texas, you say, sorry, I'm late. No problem. But 71's giving you a demerit. So, um, TJ's saying, Darren have breakfast. LOL. He may not be quite ready for breakfast, maybe. I don't know. Hey, John. You say, I re-warmed up Papa John's. Haven't seen any movies lately, but trying to catch up on YouTube. Watching lots of wrestling stuff, maybe because it's near Christmas. Yeah, nobody says that you got to completely stick to movies. I mean, Steve and I watched recently that Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special or Christmas special or whatever you want to call it. And it was really cool, but I think it was only 42 minutes. Oh, TJ, you probably could get pasta and meatballs on a truck in New York. I'm not sure that I'd want to eat it or not, but yeah. Oh, cool, TJ. You say you watched X and Smile 2 days ago. Well, feel free to put, what you thought of those in the chat if you want to. I was just wondering, did you get a chance to see Pearl yet? John, you say, oh gosh, I did not like that holiday special at all, but I'm watching the Wednesday Netflix show. It's okay. Oh, John, you didn't like that Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special? No, I'm not gonna get on you about it. I was kind of surprised. I thought it was a good holiday special, but to each his own. You gave X 5 stars, TJ, and Smile 3. Okay, I think that's probably about what I was thinking too. John, you say I like the holiday special, even though other people did not like it. Better than the Star Wars Christmas one. Okay. So you guys keep on chatting in there. I am going to go ahead and add Darren. And like I said, if anybody in here now or a little bit later wants to join in, I have the link to join in live on the stream in the chat. If you need me to repost it, then I can do that. But I'm going to go ahead and add Darren here. Hey, Darren. Oh, I think Darren might be muted. I can see him moving his mouth, but I can't hear anything. Um, can anybody hear Darren? Because I'm not hearing him. I'm not sure if it's. If I could read lips, it would be great. But oh, okay. I think he's gonna take care of something. I think he was saying 1 second. So I'll read a few more of these chat messages off while we're waiting for Darren here. Johnny said it was just kind of weird, maybe felt like a reason for Kevin Bacon to promote his album, but it wasn't bad. Just okay. Yeah, wasn't anything to write home about, I'm guessing. Um, TJ, you say, watch the short. Laura hasn't slept. It's the short that led to the full version of Smile. Smile was creepy, but the short actually made uh caught me in a jump scare. Cool, TJ. I'll have to see if I can find that. Um, so Little Dumpling Books and 71, you said you couldn't hear them, but maybe we'll. Uh, I heard something for half a second, Darren, but I'm not hearing you talk. It was like I heard a noise, like rustling. Okay. I think he's gonna go. Yeah, he's gonna go out and come back in. So, um, Little Dumplings Books, you say, I can't tonight, but I'd love to join in on a convo soon. Yeah, Little Dumplings Books, that is cool. Anytime you want to. John, you say, I think I hold Marvel to such a critical standard now. I'm very critical of Disney and Marvel now, I'll admit it. Okay, so let me try to add Darren back here. Still can't hear you, Darren. Okay, I think he's going to try to go out and come back in again. Yeah, I can hear 70 when you say he's dropping down, coming back, LOL. Yeah, I mean, I can hear a staticky sort of noise, but I'm not hearing his voice. No, John, I have not seen the trailer for Bones and All. You say it looks wild. I'll have to look into that. Um, TJ, you say, John, I haven't seen the special yet, but I'm only expecting it to be cute and a little amusing, not expecting an amazing experience. LOL. Yeah, I wouldn't expect, any kind of amazing experience from. John, you're not that critical. I like it actually that people have different ideas about things and different okay. So Darren's asking me to post the link in the chat, so I am going to do that. TJ, you say only if Nebula doesn't make an appearance, I'd be pissed. Don't tell me though, haha. Okay, I won't, TJ. Promise. John, you say to me the standard is Iron Man 1, Winter Soldier, etc., even Guardians 1, but I know they still make money, so what do I know? Well, you know a lot, John. I mean, I wouldn't want anybody to put down, it's just your opinion. It doesn't hurt anybody. Okay. So let me see if I can add Darren back real quick here. Okay.
Hello, is it working now?
All right. That's great. Yeah.
Right.
I can hear you now.
I had a crappy old pair of headphones.
Gotcha.
So just got my new ones back.
Okay.
I've never had that happen before. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I was making sure that I wasn't hitting anything to like mute you or anything. I don't think I was, but I just double checked myself.
That's all.
71
It's all good.
says, "Oh my God, he can talk." Yeah, Darren's very knowledgeable about these movies. You definitely want to hear what he has to say. So, um, and I know he was excited about this, so I didn't want him not to be able to participate live like that. So,
Yeah, it's just a minor hiccup.
so if I'll probably start taking bites of my little mini sandwich here as I'm talking about these movies, because that's the whole thing. And actually, I think I'm gonna. Sorry for the noise.
I will say that I do suffer like from acid reflux, so I don't think eating like 1 a.m. would be very good for me. But
Yeah,
that's my excuse anyway.
probably not. Well, goodness gracious! I thought they put a lot of oil and vinegar on this little dude here, and he's kind of hard to get out of the wrapper. I should have brought a napkin back here. I'm going to get junk all over my movies. But anyway, we're going to get started with the discussion on Dress to Kill first, and then we're going to go into Blowout. Oh, well, Rob Scott's in here. Hey, Rob. You say great topic tonight, Dana. Noah Baumbach made a fantastic documentary called The Palma. You should check it out if you haven't. I will have to look into that, Rob.
Yeah, I second that as well. And I've
Oh, you.
seen that. I think it came out a couple of years ago, maybe.
Oh
Um,
man.
and he talks like hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, all about every film he's done. It's really well worth checking out because I
Oh, I
think
definitely want to see that.
William Friedkin done one as well called Leap of Faith, similar type of documentary where he goes through his whole career, and that's
Hmm.
another one worth checking out as well.
Um.
But I've got notes, so I've come prepared with it.
Oh, awesome. John, you want to know how the job is? Still good? Yeah, things are still going good. I am officially still in training, but as anybody knows that's worked in IT, there's always a lot to learn, especially when you start a new job with a new company. You have to get used to all the way they do their passwords and all the different programs that you've got to get into, all the different programs that some of the people that work at the Smile Doctors clinics in this case might have trouble with. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to be a sponge and absorb as much information as I can. Um,
Yeah, it'll probably take you a little bit of time to get used to everything, won't it? And
mhm.
learn it all. Once you do that, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think once I do, like a few tickets and things like that and get used to the whole
Yeah,
process and stuff, it'll be fine. TJ, you say he should check the audio. His accent sounds like he's from another country.
I
Uh,
got a terrible accent, I know.
I love your accent, Darren. I've always
Uh,
said that.
do I
TJ,
sound like, I think I've maybe asked you this before, but do I sound English to you or Welsh?
well, I mean, I always tell Steve that you sound English to me, but he said, Dana, Darren's not English, he's Welsh. I said, well, I don't think I offend Darren when if I
No, no.
insinuate that he sounds English. I mean, that's not I guess that wouldn't be a slur. That wouldn't be anything that's like,
No, it's not. I'm not offended. It surprises me though because I don't think I sound English at all. Like,
right.
but yeah, I guess to you guys, you know, like
But
proper English to me is like Michael Caine and
yeah, yeah,
um,
I get that.
like London.
I guess you sound like, and I hope this doesn't make you feel bad or anything, but I always think you sound somewhat like the Beatles, not exactly like the Beatles, but
Right,
somewhat.
Liverpool. You mean then?
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah,
that
Liverpool's
area.
not far from Wales, to be honest. But
Oh,
I'm sort of in the southern part of
okay.
Wales, whereas North Wales is right now. Like Liverpool's not far at all.
Mhm. It's just the English or the Welsh accent. Both of those accents are just very soothing to me. I could just listen to somebody talking that accent all day.
Oh, see, yeah, I feel the same about your accent. I really like
Oh, good.
it.
I'm
I do.
embarrassed of mine.
It's like when I first started listening to Dead Pit, and I really, a lot of people turned off because they couldn't understand them and all that. But I really, like that accent. I think,
Mhm.
Southern American accent.
So TJ says, just get past the 90 days in the job and you're gold. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm working towards. Uh, let's see here. So I'm going to try to keep up with the chat, guys. We've got about 7 in here. I'm not sure if that counts Darren or not. I think it counts whoever's on the stream with me, but I'm just not sure. Okay, so we're gonna get started with Dress to Kill, and I was telling Darren earlier that he just like almost before we got on here rewatched. Did you rewatch both, right, Darren?
Yeah, I watched Dress to Kill pretty much 5-10 minutes finished before I come on.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Blow last night, and
Okay.
and I think I watched it again last week as well because I'm a big fan of that film, as we'll come on to. So I think we've done the Eurocult podcast, didn't we, a couple of months ago on Dress to Kill?
I believe so, yeah.
So I'm pretty much up on that film at the moment.
Now, I rewatched both of them last night, so I should be good to go on it. I'll actually tell you that Dress to Kill is my favorite of the two, but I do like both of them very much. Dress to Kill is just, I don't know. I almost want to say it's another one of those near perfect movies. And
Yeah.
I mean, the only drawback to this film for me, and you guys are probably going to laugh, but I said it before. I think I said it on the Eurocult podcast too. Is Angie Dickinson. That woman just like gets on my last nerve. First of all, I mean, I don't know how old she was when she was on this. Darren, do you have any idea how old Angie Dickinson
I
was?
think she's got to be 50, surely, or getting on for 50
And
when she made this.
I'm not trying to put Brian De Palma down or whoever made this choice, but to have a woman of that age, and obviously either they didn't think she had the body to do that shower scene, or she didn't feel comfortable doing it. But it's obvious that you can tell that that is not her body in the shower. It's not her lower nether regions. It's not her boobs. Uh, and that's obvious. It's obvious that it's a body of a younger woman. And that didn't really bother me that much. I just thought that might have possibly been the poorest choice that De Palma made with that, or whoever, like I said, whoever made that decision to do that. They could have just not showed her in the shower, maybe, or maybe did a psycho like thing. Janet Leigh was in the shower, but they didn't, during that point in time, they didn't, show nether regions. They didn't show boobs. They just didn't do that. But that's probably the only drawback to this movie for me. And I thought maybe with time that Angie Dickinson's rawness or whatever it was, she just seems very off kilter. And like for her age too, why in the world was she so overly sexed? I can't figure that out. I mean,
right. See, this is where I kind of disagree with you. I personally, I feel the same way about Nancy Allen in the film. I think she's not up to the acting requirements really. But I really like Angie Dickinson, if I'm honest. I still think even for a 50-year-old, she's attractive. I know she didn't get naked for the shower scene or whatever, but I think she brings a bit of class to the film early on, which is quite surprising actually that we disagree on something, because usually we're pretty much but I actually like her performance in this.
Well, that's good though, Darren, because that gives something for people to go on that are watching this or watching this right now or that watch it later. Because if we liked everything the same, I don't think that people would be able to make a really good informed decision about, especially people that haven't watched it. If you just got one person that's saying, "Oh, I love everything," or "I hate everything," at least we're, kind of switching off and we feel differently about different things and we love other things and stuff like that.
But do you think with that scene, the shower scene early on, do you think that's what gave him the idea for Body Double? Because kind of, I was watching that.
That's a possibility, yeah.
Yeah, because that was to come, 4 years later. So, it could be something in that,
Now, John says she's not a very likable character. It's very much a bye Felicia when she slashed it. And see, I feel like John with that. I was like, oh, thank God she's dead, you know. And
Right.
two, that was a spectacular. I think that was a spectacular death scene. Even if you did like Angie Dickinson's character and didn't really want to get her killed or have her killed off, um, that she really was the Janet Leigh type of character in this movie because she's in a handful of scenes and then they get her out of the film. I mean,
Yeah.
she's
He's definitely going for the Hitchcock,
yes.
early on.
And this, I'm not saying that De Palma like steals or has stolen from Hitchcock. I'm saying that I think with this movie, he took some of the best parts of Psycho and he kind of took them and made them his own. It wasn't like the psychiatrist scene near the end. That was not verbatim what the psychiatrist said in Psycho,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it was still set up that way. But then De Palma kind of turned it on its ear a little bit and changed a few things around and just made it his own. I mean, he knew that Hitchcock had a good scene or several good scenes, and he was like, "Hey, I think I can make something out of this. I think I can take it and make it maybe more modern for that time period, maybe." Um,
I think also as well, it's quite obvious, like you say about the Hitchcock. I actually think, even though I might have brought this up on the podcast, but I actually think that he must have seen some Giallo films too, because he must have been like influenced by Dario Argento and vice versa. I know
mhm,
he doesn't admit it in that documentary that was mentioned earlier, but he must have seen, Deep Red and films like that. Bird
right,
with a Crystal Plumage, even, for the look of the killer. But
right,
yeah, yeah, I think there's a lot of different influences that sort of seesaw and go back and forth between, Argento and, you know, so yeah, I find it odd, like you say, that because he was in this circle where he was with Scorsese and they were all
mhm.
around about the early 70s going to watch films together and all that. So it's hard, like when he says he's never seen, stuff like, Bird with Crystal Plumage and that. So, yeah, and whether he's just misremembering, I don't know.
I think De Palma did. He took some of the best stuff from Hitchcock. He also took some of the best stuff from Giallo films. I mean, I'm glad Darren
Yeah,
brought that up because I did want to talk about that. Just like you said, the look of the killer, um, the even like using the razor as a weapon to kill people, um, even down to the way there's one scene where a throat is slit. I mean, if you look at that, to me, that looks a lot like the Italian giallos. The whole setup of that.
yeah. Tenebrae comes to mind,
Mm,
when you see that kill early on. Just brought to me Tenebrae, and funny enough, this film was actually made round about the same time, give or take a few months, I think, maybe up to 12 months, as Maniac, and it's got that type of look as well with New York. I mean,
yes,
it's got that feel, the gritty New York
mm.
feel. So
it has
yeah,
it has the gritty feel, but it also has. I'm glad you brought up the word classy, even though you were talking about Angie Dickinson. But there is a classiness to the entire film.
oh yeah, yeah,
I think it's not, although it does have that grittiness. Um, it's not. I hate to say Maniac's kind of down in the slums with its grittiness because I love the film Maniac, but Maniac is very much a purely exploitational film. in my opinion. And that doesn't, I'm not saying that it's not a good film. I just think that De Palma was trying to make something a step up or a few steps up from Maniac. He didn't
Yeah.
just want to make a regular slasher film. He wanted to, I think he wanted to add some class, and that's probably why he used an actress such as Angie Dickinson in this, and Michael Caine as well. I think Michael Caine added a bit of class to this movie as well. I absolutely love Michael Caine. I think he's an amazing actor.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a Michael Caine. Well, with maybe Jaws 4, but put that aside, I don't think I've ever seen him have a bad performance,
Mm-hmm.
But I want to come on to this, which I'm sure you was going to come on to, the museum scene early on,
Mm-hmm.
and how like atmospheric and sort of it's basically done with no dialogue and just that haunting like
Right.
theme. And I thought, yeah, again, that takes me right back. This is going to come up a lot in this conversation, but the Giallo film as well, it just takes me
Yes.
right back. And yeah, and it's fantastic scene. Obviously, you're building up then to, this guy she sort of fancies at the museum, and then you've got the whole thing with the glove, which I found there's even quite a bit of humor in there, in this
Yeah.
film as well, if you look for it. And yeah, it sets up the film really well. And I don't know if did you listen to the I'm trying to think the podcast with I think they mentioned Alice, Sweet Alice, Tarantino's podcast.
I have not. I need to really get in on Tarantino's podcast. Sometimes I listen to him with Steve, like when we're in the vehicle going somewhere. Sometimes he will play
Right.
that podcast, but I need to really go back and try to listen to some on my own. Just
Yeah,
have
he covers this film and he covers Alice, Sweet Alice, which we're going to be doing Sunday, by the way, on the podcast.
Yep.
So people stay tuned for that. And yeah, he's very. I urge anyone to go out and check out Tarantino's new podcast, because even if there's films on there that you're not particularly, you don't know, or maybe he's just so fascinating. That's well worth a couple of hours of your time every fortnight, I think it is.
Let's see what John is saying here. He said, yeah, the music when she's excited and stuff is kind of corny. LOL, it's the only flaw to the movie, I think. But I think De Palma did that several times in his career. For instance, to go back to Carrie, which is one I covered earlier in this series of streams, there's a scene where Tommy and his two friends are going to get their tuxedos for the prom. And De Palma does the whole thing where he speeds up the scene, and it's like they're going blah, 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 like that. It's just a really short scene, but I haven't really heard him say, maybe somebody else has, heard De Palma say why he does that necessarily, but it could be to break tension or something, or put you at ease before
Right. Yeah.
something bad happens, because everybody gets a laugh, ha ha, and then bam, they'll hit you with something like in this movie, a gruesome murder, perhaps, or
Yeah. Definitely well thought. With every scene sort of well thought through, and like you say, little bits of humor and that. It's all well thoroughly researched the whole film.
mm-hmm. I'm just trying to see what people are saying here. Okay, so John says, yeah, TJ, I know what you're saying. As much as I love De Palma, there's always a bit of silliness or goofiness to his films that's random. It's small but noticeable.
Yeah.
And Rob says De Palma frequently mimics classics like the Odessa Steps, Battleship Potemkin scene, and Citizen Kane and the Untouchables. There's tons of Hitchcock references in Dress to Kill. Yes, there are probably a lot more than I'm actually mentioning on here. And John's saying, oh, he definitely saw Argento. No way he didn't.
Yeah, he definitely saw Deep Red. He must have, with the sort of elevator scene, surely, like.
Oh, well, thank you, Little Dumplings Books. Little Dumplings Books says, I'm looking forward to the Alice Sweet Alice talk. I love that film.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one. Can't
I
wait.
think I think Alice Sweet Alice is like, to me, it's like a dark horse in the running. I think it was probably a film that, because I didn't discover it the first time around for a long time. I won't talk too much on this though. I'll save it for the podcast. But um, I just think it was quiet and unassuming, unless you thought to, oh, this sounds kind of interesting. I'll take it home, and then it just
Right.
blows you away when you watch it.
Oh god, yeah, it was made because it was quite a small budgeted film as well. Made in New Jersey, and people, even still to this day, I talk to some people in the horror circles, and they've never heard of it or they haven't seen it, and I'm like blown away by that because it's one of the best, I think, underrated films ever made,
Oh,
horror
yes.
films ever made. But yeah, we'll come on to that, more in the future.
And John says you can absolutely make the argument that he's the 70s to 80s version of Hitchcock. Totally agree, John. He carried that legacy forward and added his flair to it. Yeah, that's what I think too.
Definitely adds something, yeah, to every film, for sure.
Now, I want to talk. I mean, we've talked a little bit about Nancy Allen, and we can talk some more about her, but somebody else that I want to talk about is Keith Gordon. Now, and I'm not talking about like, I'm not looking at Keith Gordon, especially at that point in time, as, any sort of sex symbol type of thing. No, I'm talking about his acting. I think, I'm not sure how old Keith Gordon was then, but he was pretty young. But although he doesn't carry the film, when Angie Dickinson's character, and she plays his mom in the film, is killed off, it's almost as if Keith Gordon does have to carry the film, because who do you have left? He has a stepfather who's not really in the movie much at all. The stepfather, Mike. You have Nancy Allen, who is pivotal in the movie, but I still don't think she carries the movie.
I think for me, one of the best things about this film is Detective Marino. Mm-hmm. I think Dennis Franz is absolutely fantastic as an actor, and you can play that asshole actor,
yes,
brilliantly.
He can play, because he really does come off as an asshole at the beginning of this film and really sleazy.
Yeah.
But by the end of the film, he's kind of switched around. It's almost like he was a cop or a detective or whatever that had to be a hard ass to get
to get the result. Yeah, mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
So then by that, one of the final scenes where they're all discussing everything, he seems a lot less sleazy. Maybe not a complete nice guy, but definitely less of an asshole and less sleazy. Now,
I think very true to what a New York detective would be at that time.
Oh,
you've got to be a bit of an asshole to get results. To figure out murders and stuff like that. So yeah, I think he's portrayed very well. Sorry, Dana. What was you going to say?
Oh no! I was just going to say, if you want to see Dennis Franz be really sleazy, I think it's Psycho 3.
Psycho 2, you know?
Oh, Psycho 2. Sorry. Yeah, Psycho 2. Thank you, Darren, for correcting me.
Oh, yeah. He's pretty much plays the same character, but he's not. Obviously, he's not a detective, but he's brilliant in that as well. The interactions he has with, you know, the lead, Anthony Perkins, is brilliant, you know?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
and he's he's almost a pervert in Psycho
Yeah,
2, though. He
yeah.
almost goes over the edge.
He's kind of like that in you as well. He's kind of a bit of a pervert.
Yeah, a little bit. But I'm wondering if that's all part of the act, like the I'm gonna
Yeah,
be the
yeah.
hard ass detective, and I'm gonna be a little salacious towards Nancy Allen's character here to get her to do what I want.
Yeah, he's kind of like bullies her, doesn't he? And you sort of get with his character as well. If someone went to bully him back, I think he'd like just cave in, you know. But like all bullies, they only pick on the weakest, you know. He's kind of like that.
So, if I was to pick somebody that I think comes close to really carrying this film, it would have to be Michael Caine.
Right.
Because the other characters are kind of all supporting players. And then Michael Caine is the main center point. And I'm not going to explain that too much for people that haven't seen the film, but if you have not seen the film and you watch it after we do this stream, you will definitely see what I'm talking about. Because, but I will say that Keith Gordon is a great cornerstone or bookend to Michael Caine's performance. Because again, there's not a whole lot of young actors that can pull that kind of performance off,
Yeah.
and pull it off realistically. I mean, I think Keith Gordon had, when his mom gets killed within the film, to me, he really looks like a young kid that something terrible has happened to his parent. And of course, you find out through the course of the film that his real dad was killed in Vietnam, because people keep referring to Mike as his dad. And he's like, no, 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 he's not my dad. My dad was killed in Vietnam. So not only has he lost his father, but he's lost his mother. And I can see the pain, and the pain looks real. So I don't know to what place Keith Gordon had to go to get that. But he pulled that off really well. I'd like to know what Darren thinks of Keith Gordon's performance.
Superb. Like, I think he does in a way carry the film. Because even though I mentioned Dennis Franz, then, you know, you don't see an awful lot of him, but Keith Gordon, absolutely superb at the time. I think he's one of the, you know, up and coming actors of the time. I think he's gone on now, and he's actually a director now. And
he's behind the camera now.
He's so knowledgeable as well, because he's another guy that you've only got to go on Stitcher, put in his name, interview on Stitcher, and a ton of podcasts he's been on. And he's covered like a lot of films. He talks a lot. He talks really fondly about De Palma. I think he's kind of like De Palma's protege in a way, because he's learned everything off him, and he's sort of, you know, brought that into his films as well. But yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about Keith Gordon. Absolutely phenomenal performance in this.
And a lot of people talk about Nancy Allen and some of her weaker performances. Now, we're going to talk about Blowout next. But I just want to say that I think her performance in Blowout is one of the weakest for me. I mean,
ooh, I think we're going to
yeah.
disagree on
So
that.
yeah, but that's good. That's good. That's going to make for
Yeah,
good
yeah.
conversation.
I think she's weak in this film, but I don't think it detracts from the film at all. You know, I mean, it's kind of works in a way the way she is, but
Mm,
quite obviously it was the whole the Palma doing the Rob Zombie thing. You know, where he's getting his wife in his films or his girlfriend.
mm,
I don't know if she was his girlfriend at the time, showing off their ass and their bodies. You know, so
mm-hmm.
it was kind of like that. And what was kind of freaky about that as well was the Palmer back then looked old. He even looked old then,
Yeah.
whereas she doesn't. And I would imagine looking at them two as a couple then would have been like looking at a father and a daughter. I don't mean that, bad in any way.
Right.
But it kind of, to me, was a bit weird. But, they're probably, I don't know, not a lot of difference in their age, but they just look miles apart to me.
Yeah, and I wonder sometimes. I've even wondered this about Rob Zombie, about like they put their wives and their girlfriends in these movies, and then they're in the most compromising positions in some of these movies. I didn't.
Yeah,
I mean, they must be really comfortable with their relationship with the other person because Nancy Allen, for instance, she gets down into like, pretty skimpy stuff. And there's a scene where she's leaning over the desk and there's almost a nipple slip there because her boob is pretty well sliding out of the bra part of this skimpy looking outfit that she's, got on underneath her clothes. Um,
I think
but
we actually see a little bit, don't we, in Blowout? We do see, like on the picture, when they're taking a picture of
yeah,
her in a compromising position, we do kind of see, we definitely see a bit of a nipple in that. But I
right.
think with these directors, they just kind of put their partners on show as if to say, look, well, I'm sort of,
Yeah, look who I got by my side,
yeah,
guys.
yeah, making us all envy them.
Yeah, but I think Nancy Allen does a good job in Dress to Kill. I don't think that she has to, she's a call girl or a hooker or whatever you want to call her. So I'm not saying that makes her stupid, but that could make her a little bit flighty, maybe um not completely uneducated, but slightly less educated than, a high class businesswoman. But there are several scenes where it's obvious that Nancy Allen's character knows exactly what she's doing as far as like stocks. I think there are several scenes where she gets her information from, I guess you would call them her Johns, the guys that she's taken out and showing a good time to. And I think Dennis Franz makes a statement at one time early on. Um, he says a Fifth Avenue whore is still a whore, or something
Yeah,
to that effect. Um, and of course, Nancy Allen is what I like about her in this movie, especially, is she's strong. I think because she doesn't let what Detective Marino, Dennis Franz's character, whatever he says, she pretty much comes back at him until that final shot of them in the police station, uh, where she finally just says "fuck you" to him, and that's just the
yeah.
final kiss off. I think it's like, you can say whatever you want to me, Marino, uh, but after all said and done, I'm going to go out and do my own thing. So you're not going to kill my spirit. So that final "fuck you" she says to him before leaving, um, I hate to say it's amazing, but it kind of is because it's like, yeah, go girl, get, even though she's a hooker, she's seems to me to be the hooker with the heart of gold type of thing, almost like a if Julia Roberts' character from Pretty Woman
right,
was stuck in a horror movie or a suspense thriller movie, I think that that's what that character would be like.
yeah, yeah. And she kind of has a really good rapport, bit of chemistry with Peter, doesn't she? You're kind of like not sure whether there's going to be an appropriate incident happen later on in the film or whatever, or whether the two of them get together. It never happens, obviously, but yeah, there's a really good chemistry between the two, and I think that helps.
I think so too. Let's see.
But fans of the slasher film, though, and again, I'm not sure if we mentioned this in the podcast. Don't want to be going over different things, but we get to see Brandon Maggot from Christmas Evil.
Yes,
and Bill Randolph from Friday the 13th Part 2, which I thought was quite cool.
Yeah, this movie is full of
sort of slash. If you're into slasher films,
genre, familiar genre people, I guess is
yeah. Well, you can't miss the two of them either. So keep a lookout for that if if you haven't sort of seen them before or not really.
I love Bill Randolph's character. I love Brandon Mayer's character too, but Bill Randolph almost has a little more to do in his scenes. The way his taxi driving kind of reminds me of, and people are going to say, boy, Dana's really out there tonight because she's bringing up all kinds of other movies. But look who's talking with Kirstie Alley and John Travolta when he's driving her to the hospital when she's about to give birth.
Right, that
taxi scene where she's flying from one side of the back seat to the other. That is very reminiscent to me of the scene in Dress to Kill where Bill Randolph is driving Nancy Allen around, and she tells him to like get her out of there, but she's like, I forget exactly how she phrases it. Do you remember how she phrases it? Like she's almost like her jaw almost got broken or something in that one scene in the taxi. And I think she says something to him. I'm forgetting.
Yeah, I can't remember. But I will say with those two actors as well, both, because you've got Bill Randolph, it's kind of like a funny scene as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Brandon Maggot is totally funny where he's, he turns up as a prostitute and he can't get her quick enough, come in. But I thought they were two worthy to note, and definitely with humor in both of them actors as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't mentioned, I did want to mention quickly, was the really freaky scene for me was the Donahue clip.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I got nothing against transsexuals or anything like that, but it is kind of freaky. You've got the split screen, exactly. And then I'm not sure if I've asked you this before, but did you guess, the twist of this film early on your first viewing, Dana?
Oh gosh,
I probably asked you.
I'm trying to think back to the very first time I watched this, and I want to say I didn't figure it out, but now upon later multiple rewatchings, it's like, how did I miss that?
Yeah, because I think the Betty Luce character kind of mixes it up a bit where you're not sure.
Exactly.
And you're always second guessing yourself, throughout.
Well, when that scene came up, I was like, what in the hell? What was that? Because I think that De Palma really did, kind of with both of those shots, the twist and the shots with the female cop.
Yeah.
are reminiscent of Argento.
Right.
Especially with things like Deep Red, where something that you thought you saw correctly was not what you saw at all, and
Yeah.
it was something
Definitely.
different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm beginning to think more and more that De Palma had to have seen some Argento films. I'm not saying he's ripping Argento off. I'm saying again, like the Hitchcock thing, he was taking some of the best parts of Argento's work and putting his own spin on them.
Yeah, but I think that works two ways, because if you notice in Tenebrae, Argento uses a transsexual character, Eva Robbins, in the
Yes.
beach scene. I
Mhm.
think the two of them are definitely working off each other, even though they probably won't admit it. And Argento, of course, uses a lot of gay characters and such as well. So
Mhm.
yeah,
But I think that the deep story behind Dress to Kill, and again, I don't wanna give it away because somebody might watch this later, or somebody could be in the chat and doesn't know the ending, hasn't ever seen it, and I would hate to ruin it for them. So I'm not gonna delve too deeply into the end, but, this is a film, again, that has a lot of layers.
yeah,
It's like an onion, like I've said about a lot of other movies. Um, and I really, this is not a movie that's, I don't think it was intended for anybody to figure out on first watch, to figure out that twist. Although when you watch it a few more times, you begin to understand those aha moments where, oh, yeah, why didn't I see that the first time around? And I'm wondering if that's because when we first watch a movie, we're concentrating more on the plot of it and not these little nuances or little, like I said, aha moments. We're not taking that into account. They're too subtle at that
yeah,
point
yeah,
in time. But after we've seen it multiple times and we know the plot, then we start being able to pick up on those subtle things, those things that were in the background, those things that we might have missed the very first time.
yeah.
Um,
Because there's two or three shots in this film where we see, obviously, in the music after the museum part, we see the killer on the steps,
mhm.
and
Yeah.
you will not notice that at all if you're watching for the first time.
No, I
And
definitely didn't notice that the first time around. No.
there's another couple of shots as well where we see the killer just slightly, but
Yep.
obviously you just don't know. The first time I'm watching, there's no way you could work it out. Like I said, with the Becky Luce character, there's no way you could work that out.
Mm-mm.
You
And
could have
I
worked out the Michael Caine aspect, yeah, but you know,
and I love what De Palma did with mirrors
yeah,
in this
yeah,
movie. And I'm
definitely,
not gonna go very much into that because again, I don't want to give things away. But using the usage of mirrors in this movie is just amazing. It's amazing to the plot, and that's just all I'm gonna say about that, but, I'm not saying you should pay attention to every mirror, but mirrors are definitely used,
it's
in
kind of not subtle either, is it? It's there. It's
not
definitely in your
later
face.
when you watch it multiple times, no, it's definitely not subtle. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Also, what I liked about this film as well was we kind of get, I'm not gonna, we're not gonna spoil it or anything. We get two endings as well, like he did with Carrie. I thought
yes.
that was interesting, and there's a whole scene with, Dr. Elliot, and he's kind of talking to another doctor. Like, should we just say that, another mental institution doctor, and yeah, I thought that was really well done as well. I thought the twist there, I really enjoyed that like first time watching.
Mm.
But you
And
can watch this film, mind, and not, you can know the twist like we do, and
mhm.
the rewatchability of this film is amazing. I watch
Oh,
this
yeah.
every 6 months at least.
Yeah, and still get something new out of it.
Oh
And then
yeah,
there are some, although after multiple watches, it's not that subtle, but there are some, on first glance, there are some subtle things in that whole discussion that Dr. Elliot has
Yeah,
with that other psychiatrist.
Oh yeah, there's clues, right? That it's all like I say. It's not really a cheat. I don't think there's a major cheat. Maybe with the Bet You Lose character can be seen as a slight cheat, yeah, on maybe one or two scenes. But
Right.
yeah, it's all there. It's like any Argento film. It's all there. It might not make a bit of sense, but I think this one does make a lot more sense.
Yeah,
Than some of his other films.
it's almost as if you're trying to do a good sized puzzle, and De
Yeah,
Palma is giving you a few puzzle pieces, a few scenes at a time. Here, you get 3 or 4 puzzle pieces for this scene. You get 10 puzzle pieces for this scene, and you've
yeah.
got to figure
That
out how to put those all together to
I
make it.
think I was like talking with Steve going back years ago now, and he said when he first started watching the Giallo film or the murder mystery films, he'd get a pen and paper and he'd write down, who he thought would be the killer and stuff like that, which I thought was interesting.
That is
Um,
interesting. I
he's
don't
probably
think
not
he's
even
ever,
told you that.
he hasn't ever told me that, so that's very interesting. I'm going to ask him about that. It's like, why don't you tell me about that? That's very interesting. I'll say I had to hear about it secondhand, Steve.
Yeah, I thought that was quite a cool idea actually,
Yeah, it
going back
is.
in the day.
Mhm.
But that,
TJ did say,
go on, sorry.
oh, that's okay. TJ did say, my real gripe is De Palma ripping off his own ending, LOL. And I
Right.
know exactly what he's talking about with that. Um,
See, I don't know. I kind of like the two endings, even though we did it with Carrie. Probably a lot better with Carrie, but I can't. Yeah, I kind of dig it. The second ending as well. Again, we won't go too much into it, but it reminds me a little bit of like the endings of Slaughter High.
uh-huh.
And I know these two films are poles apart in terms of atmosphere and everything. But yeah, kind of. I dig that part. It definitely reminds me of that film. That little end sequence.
Mhm. So, let's see. I was trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to bring up about this movie. Other than this is a fantastic example of what they refer to in the business, I guess, as an American giallo.
Yeah,
Um, and
yeah,
I really think De Palma was spot on with this. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew how to make this film work. Um, and I really, again, I'm not putting down De Palma for the choices he made. I'm just saying I think with the Angie Dickinson part that was just odd. But that's where me and Darren defer on that. But I liked what when people say something and then they've got points ABC to back it up. It just kind of irks me when people say, well, I hated it or I hated something, but they can't back it up. They can't tell you anything. Now, there's got to be a reason why somebody dislikes something. And so I
right.
gave my reasons for the dislike, and Darren gave his reasons why he liked it. So I I'm just saying you can dislike something or you can like something really well, but it's always good to have a few points to back up
Yeah,
what you're saying.
I definitely get where you're coming from. Even though I don't feel the same, I do get where you're coming from.
Hmm.
I got a few facts, and I don't know
Okay.
whether it might be the viewers might be interested in, but this was nominated. This was there was a thing back in the day called the Razzies. I'm sure you know, Dana, Daniel.
Hmm.
The first sort of Golden Raspberry Awards. Basically, nominated for worst director was Brian De Palma with this. along with William Friedkin for Cruising and Stanley Kubrick for The Shining, which blows my mind, you know.
That blows my mind too.
But it doesn't stop there, because you've got Worst Actress, Nancy Allen, along with Shelley Duvall in The Shining, which I kind of agree with that one. Worst Actor, Michael Caine was nominated.
Oh,
so yeah. And then, funny enough, Angie Dickinson actually won a Saturn Award for her performance in it. So it's kind of strange. But yeah, and I think I'm not sure if we mentioned it on the podcast, but Sean Connery was offered the role, and he had to, he couldn't take it because of other commitments, which I thought was interesting. Basically, my last little thing is De Palma called the elevator scene the best murder sequence he's ever done. So yeah,
I mean, the way that shot is set up and the way that shot is executed.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yes. Whether you like Angie Dickinson, don't like Angie Dickinson, that scene is, as Darren said, phenomenal.
It's perfect in every way. Yeah. Even to where, she even sees the killer in, from the mirror in the back of, Nancy Allen sees the killer. Everything about that scene is just perfection. Honestly, it really is perfection. And anybody who's not seen the films watching this stream now and is interested, I highly urge you to, go and watch this film. I haven't got the 4K. I got this version, the Arrow version.
Oh, what's the extras like on that Arrow version, Darren?
Oh God, it's tons.
Oh yeah, I can see that big chunk there.
I don't think you can.
Exactly. I'm not going to have you read all those off.
I think there's a decent documentary I remember watching at some point.
I'm going to have to see if Steve can get me that documentary that y'all were talking about earlier. Because I really
the De Palma one. Yeah. Ask him about the Friedkin one as well, because that's really good as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to. I'm sure he could probably get access to both of them.
Definitely just one click away then too. They're pretty accessible. You'd be able to get them, definitely.
But let's see. I guess we'll move on to Blowout now. So again, I'm not sure what version Darren has of Blowout. Not that, I mean,
I have the Steelbook from Arrow.
That's cool.
I keep the J card on.
I have the Criterion 4K. I had the Criterion Blu-ray before that. And basically they used the same, cover art for both of these releases.
I need to get onto that as well. I need to upgrade both of these films, actually. Because in 4K, I would imagine. The 4K's a lot different, Dana?
For both of these films tonight,
for the two of them, yeah.
I feel like they are, and I mean, I feel like in my case, it was worth the money that I gave for them.
Okay.
The only, I'll bring down this Dress to Kill 4K. The only thing about the Dress to Kill 4K, as with many of the Kino Lorber releases, Criterion put out the Blu-ray. But I don't know if they lost the rights or whatever to this one, and Kino Lorber got them, because Kino Lorber put the Blu-ray out. But they're just not like, I'm not saying that this is a make or break thing on either one of these things I'm going to talk about, but the menu screens are not as elaborate as most, recent releases are. There's basically no movement to them or anything like that. You might have some music playing behind a still photo and then all your different things that you can pick off the menu, but they just seem very plain, maybe unimaginative. And another thing I've noticed about these Kino Lorber releases is it seems to be more about the transfer, which is all well and good, but a lot of times they don't have a lot of special features, or if they do, they're not really good special features. They're just kind of weak in the special features department. And I know some people will tell me, including Steve, that the releases aren't about the special features. They're about the transfer. And I said, yeah, I get that, but let's break this down. If you're spending 30 or more dollars on one of these releases, I think you expect a little more than an exceptional transfer. I mean, Darren, would you agree or disagree with that?
I'm all about the extras, to be honest. But I think in this day and age now, like you say, when you're plopping down, 40, £30 in UK money, you should be able to get both. You should be able to get loads of extras as well as a good transfer. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
But like obviously what you're saying with that edition, if I do upgrade to the 4K, I'll keep hold of the Blu-rays as well, because the extras from Arrow, I will say, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would just basically get both.
Yeah, I know we're not talking about Misery tonight, but I did want to bring up the fact that I know what people think about Scheme Factory or Screen Factory, but when they put the Blu-ray of Misery out, it had some good extras on it. It had some good special features on it. But when Kino Lorber got a hold of it and released the 4K, I don't know if this again was a rights issue, if they weren't able to port over the extras from Screen Factory, or they couldn't afford them, or didn't want to pay what Screen Factory wanted for those special features, or what the deal was. But basically, I think Kino Lorber ported over maybe either a previous Blu-ray releases special features, or maybe a DVDs, and they were basically like stuff on stalking and things like that, but they weren't anything about the movie. It wasn't any of the actors or Rob Reiner or anybody like that talking that had anything to do with the movie. And I just think that's just a ripoff to me when they do things like that.
Yeah, the earlier edition of Poltergeist I bought years ago, and it's
Yeah,
got like ghost documentaries on there. Nothing about the film at all. No commentary track.
right.
Nothing. I've not bought the recent 4K of that one. But yeah, I find that pointless. Especially a film as good as that. Why you can't get someone in, to do a decent commentary or whatever. Just I don't know. Some of these films.
So Rob says, I'm all for the extras. I'm still just doing Blu-ray and streaming. No interest in paying $30 and not getting extras. Can't blame you there, Rob. And Rob also says they need to at least provide links to extras on the web or something. That's an interesting thought too.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a bit of a con where they just bring out the 4K with no, like you say, no different extras at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I will now and again get the 4K. If it's a film I really want, or I just want that extra. But usually I just say no. Because like we say, Screen Factor, they're synonymous for doing that. They get you to buy the Blu-ray, and then when you buy the Blu-ray, not 6 months later or whatever, I don't know. I just got sick of that, to be honest.
Yeah. So moving on to Blowout. Blowout, like Dress to Kill is my favorite of the two we're talking about tonight, but Blowout is an incredible movie as well. I mean, this movie, I don't know. I don't know what kind of mind De Palma has, but like, how in the hell does he come up with this stuff? And I thought about the same stuff about some of Argento's stuff as well. I mean, we've talked about the Italian giallos and some other like Fulci's horror films that he did, about them not making a lot of sense. But boy, are they stylish, especially Argento stuff is stylish and classy. But then you've got these horrifying murders in a lot of Argento stuff, but you just cannot look away because of that. There's a sense of beauty to Argento stuff, no matter how horrific it is. You still have that beauty, I think. Um, and I'm talking about his big set pieces, his big, not just finale scenes like the Tenebrae scene where literally blood is spraying out of that girl's cut off arm or woman's cut off arm all over the walls, but it is literally like she's painting the walls with her own blood. It's almost like an abstract painting, in some ways.
He's all about style, though, isn't he, Argento? He's even gone on record to say he doesn't really care so much for an actor's performance as long as he's got, visual style, and he can pull off those tricks like he does, when the camera going up the wall in Tenebrae and stuff like that. And I think he's such a good director that it doesn't really, for me anyway, it doesn't affect any of his films, not having great actors.
I don't think Argento is fond of actors.
No, that's right,
yeah. And I don't think Fulci was either, especially actresses. But I thought that I heard, and guys, I know we're not really talking about Argento, but it ties in with De Palma, trust me. I had heard, I think it was Aja, and I don't know how old this interview was or whatever it was that I was watching, but she basically said that early on in her career, that her father told her, "Oh, you don't want to be an actress." He says, "Actors are shit." Yeah. So right there, it didn't appear to me that he thought very, very much of actors and actresses, that they were just, to him, they were inanimate objects, just to move around where he wanted them and make these great set pieces. And that was all he needed them for, basically.
Yeah, I think him and Fulci were pretty much misogynists. It's quite well known that they didn't like women actresses and stuff. But yeah, I think I can remember that Argento interview as well. And he tried to put her off going into acting, didn't he? But then, ironically enough, he puts her in quite a few of his films, and quite a few racy scenes as well. Where she's topless and that. He's had a bit of criticism over the years, but each to their own. It's not something I would do, but
Now, TJ brings up the fact that Blowout is very political. It is, and although I don't know for sure if it was mirroring, this was 1981 when this was released. I don't know if this was exactly mirroring any political stuff that was going on at that point in time, but it definitely was mirroring some things that had happened back in the 70s. And if you don't believe me, look at, all the political goings on in the probably mid to late 70s, maybe. Different things that were going on, like Chappaquiddick or whatever. That does anybody know about that? About one of the Kennedys getting involved with a woman, and the car, I think, went into a body of water, and the girl was killed.
I don't think I've heard that.
Does anybody in the chat remember that, or remember? I think there was a book about it. I can't remember who exactly wrote it. Yeah, Ted Kennedy, Rob. That was the Kennedy that was involved in that. Um,
I will say with this film though, if you haven't seen this film before and you bring it up on IMDb or any website, and you read the synopsis and you think it's a political thriller, don't let that put you off, because this is very much a horror film and
yes,
very much has a lot of slasher, and
yes.
again American giallo leanings. So
Mm.
I would put this more of a horror film than a political thriller, but yeah, I can see why it would be called that. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about. A lot of good stuff.
So the movie basically concerns a sound man, played by John Travolta, who he does sound for essentially what appears to be very low budget horror films. And here's a scene where De Palma really throws you off, especially if you've not seen Blowout before. On first viewing, like, I watched Blowout a while back and then I rewatched it when I got the 4K in, and I had totally forgotten about that beginning scene. And I was like,
Right.
"What the hell? What is this?" I totally forgot about it because you soon discover that what you're watching at the beginning is not part of Blowout. It's part of the film within a film.
Yeah.
And it's a film that John Travolta's character is doing sound and sound effects for. So you have this, it looks like a very cheesy, um, not even like B grade. I'm talking like Z grade, maybe horror film where some guy is stalking these girls in this house, and there's a girl naked in the shower, and he gets ready to stab her or whatever. And the awfulest scream comes out of the, it doesn't even sound like a scream, really. It's like, oh, like
Yeah. Again,
a
I think
frog sound or something.
that's his humor. Again, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The film is actually called Coed Frenzy, which I
yes.
thought was quite cool. But yeah, I would love to have seen this, film. It's kind of like the same thing in Demons, where you've got the Nostradamus film at the
Yeah.
start. I would love to have seen a longer version of this film alone.
Mhm.
But he's obviously playing with the audience, and he can show that he obviously did with Dress to Kill, made a great slasher film, because I would call it that as well. But he
Uh,
shows what we kind of could have got, but we never. Because I would love to have seen that, this film done full length would have been amazing.
so John Travolta's character kind of gets reprimanded by the director or producer of this film, because basically John Travolta's making fun of it. He knows that movie they're working on is a piece of shit, and he's not afraid to say it's a piece of shit. And so the producer, director, whatever this guy is, basically tells him these sound effects are shitty. Go out and get some real sound effects. Like the wind, it sounds awful. So he goes out with his equipment, and he's got this microphone that's really long like a pencil, and he's standing on a bridge basically, and he's just sticking this microphone out in the air to get the sound of the wind. And what he actually ends up capturing, other than the wind, is he sees a car like across from him. And it's going way too fast, obviously. We can tell tires are screeching and all that. And he hears a sound, like a loud bang sound, um, which I think the cops tell him, yeah, that bang sound you heard was the blowout. It was the car tire blowing out, and that's why they went off the bridge and ended up in the water. Okay. But he says, no, there were two bangs. There was one bang that sounds to me like a gun. Then you hear the bang from the blowout. So somebody shot the tire out. which caused him to do that. But he basically can't get anybody to believe him that that's what happened.
Yeah, they basically say it was like an echo of the blowout, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's interesting as well to note that there's a film from 1966 called Blow Up by
Yes.
Antonioni, like,
Mm-hmm.
and David Hemmings plays the character where he's a photographer and he sees something, linked to a murder. So pretty
Yeah.
much like very similar, that's worth checking out as well.
And this is also, I talked about this with Sisters, how it was similar to Hitchcock's Rear Window. This,
Yeah,
in a way, is sort of like Rear Window because John Travolta's character is seeing and hearing things that he knows he heard it right. He knows he saw it right. But it's like the powers that be don't believe him. In the same way that Jennifer Salt's character on Sisters knows that she saw a murder happen in the apartment across from her apartment building, but she cannot get anybody to believe her. They just keep kind of blowing her off. And that's kind of what happens to John Travolta's character in Blowout. He even he goes to elaborate lengths to try to prove it by making some kind of primitive animation by today's standards. But he actually, evidently, a photographer played by Dennis Franz. So we're going to get to talk about Dennis Franz again,
yeah,
or a journalist or photographer or whatever. He actually ended up getting accolades for taking pictures of the accident, and they were printed in a magazine. So what John Travolta's character does is he cuts each one of these pictures out and does the animation with them and makes a little flip book.
yeah, so cool.
Kinda,
That's it.
yeah, and then he matches it up with the audio that he captured, which I think is genius. I wouldn't have thought of something like that. But
Well,
evidently Palma did.
it, yeah, it kind of harkens back to the bird with the crystal plumage as well at the
Right.
start, where you get the Tony Mazzanti character who obviously sees what he thinks he sees,
Yes.
you know, and there's a bit of mystery in that, even though Travolta is adamant that what he's seen, then you've got the old cover up and all that you mentioned, but two films, and then they both go back to Blow Up,
Yes.
sorry, from 1966 as well. So yeah, it's kind of interesting if you watch the two of these back to back.
Yes. I need to. I think I've seen Blow Up, but it's been a long while. And I love David Hemming, so I need to really go back and watch that again.
I watched it once and I was kind of disappointed by it. I thought there was more like drama than there was like horror or sort of slasher elements or anything. It's a tiny little bit of slasher elements in it, but not what I expected at all. But now I think my film sort of tastes have like matured a bit more now. I kind of like a slow burn now, so I might go back and I think I'll like it a little bit more.
Right. So let's talk about Nancy Allen real quick here. Now, I think me and Darren are going to disagree on this,
Yeah,
but I think out of the two movies we're talking about tonight, Dress to Kill and Blowout, I think this was definitely the weaker of the two performances. Um, and it may have been done by design. De Palma may have wanted the character that Nancy Allen plays to be a little ditzy, a little off. Uh,
yeah.
but I just, for some reason, she annoyed me in this movie. Slightly, not overly annoying. And I kept wanting to say, come on, Nancy Allen, do something. It just can't, it kind of seemed like to me she was just kind of drifting through this film. Now I know earlier when the scenes where she's in the hospital, and John Travolta is the one that rescued her, because we find out she was the girl. And again, she is I don't know if they actually refer to her as a hooker, but she's used by Dennis Franz in this case, to set the politician up.
Yeah, I think she was like a high class hooker, or maybe an escort girl or something.
Escort, yeah. So because she visits Dennis Franz in his really sleazy apartment. That is one of the sleaziest apartments.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like I say, it's funny. Manny Cap is his character name in this, and yeah, he's brilliant. He completely nails it. You know, probably not used enough, I think, in this one, but similar character, like I said before. But with the Nancy Allen thing, I think I don't particularly think she's great in this, but I don't think she's great, obviously, in Dressed to Kill either. I think she's slightly better in this, but overall, I don't think she's a great actress at all. I really liked her in Carrie. I think she plays that bitchy character really well.
Yes.
But yeah, I can see where you're coming from. She does play a little bit ditzy, doesn't she? A little bit wooden at times, I would imagine. But I don't know, it slightly worked a little bit more than the Dress to Kill for me. But not, I wouldn't say she's great, right? Anyway.
TJ did bring up a good point. I'm going to put that up here real quick. TJ says she's naive and has become used to people leading her around and taking advantage of her. She's too trusting. And I do agree with that, TJ. It's almost like she's a child. I mean, she might be a high class hooker or escort, but she's very childlike in her performance.
Yeah.
And it looks like Dirk is in here too. Hey, Dirk. Dirk said if it was before 77, I was just a glimmer in my daddy's eye. How y'all doing tonight? And I think what he was talking about was the political stuff that I was talking about earlier. But yeah.
But from earlier on in the film as well, we got this like little undercurrent sort of plot point of the screamer, like you mentioned, and it comes up a couple of times. It features prominently in the ending. So I've always thought that was quite cool, because it is just comical when you get those girls together and none of them can scream. But I won't spoil it. We'll probably come on to it later. But it does sort of work out in the end, even though I don't know what people's views are going to be on that, but we'll see.
So somebody else I wanted to talk about that's in this movie, and it has been used in more than one De Palma film, and that's John Lithgow.
Yeah.
John Lithgow is another, in my opinion, incredible actor, a very versatile actor. I mean, he can play all out batshit crazy. He can play on the fence crazy. He can play somebody, for instance, in Footloose, and I promise I'm not going to go back to 1984 and talk much about Footloose, but in that movie, he plays a really good guy at heart, but he's kind of lost his way a little bit, because within that movie, he lost his son, and then decided, well, we got to ban dancing, we got to ban music, we got to ban alcohol and all this stuff. We got to keep all this stuff away from our kids, or they're all going to end up dead like my son did. So he's a little bit misguided in that movie, but down deep, he had a good heart. But I just love the fact that John Lithgow can play almost any character you throw at him and play it 150%.
Absolutely, yeah. He's superb in this film. He actually, like you say, he's done a few departments. Raising Cain was one of them from 1992.
And he was in Obsession as well, one of the other.
Oh, right, yeah. I haven't seen that for a while. But yeah, Another interesting film. I know I was interested to see what you had to say about that one on your last stream. I need to revisit that one, definitely. But yeah, he's kind of really, really brutal in this film, and he plays a character called Burke. And a couple of slasher killings in this film are absolutely fantastic. You could put them in any sort of 1980s slasher film of the time, and they wouldn't be out of place at all, you know. But he's kind of like, I think Travolta. I'm not sure, this was 1981, so Travolta was still pretty much, you know, a big name because of Grease and Saturday Night Fever. But he's another absolutely just nails his performance, you know.
Yes.
Superbly in this. I think one of Travolta's best underrated performances.
I think so too. Yeah, very underrated.
And you could say the same about like John Lithgow. You just said, another you know, underappreciated performance. I think for sure.
I think John Lithgow's another guy that doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I would love to meet that guy, but I don't think I'm ever going to get a chance to meet John Lithgow, but I would love to meet him.
Is he still alive? I didn't even know if he's still alive.
I thought he still was. Feel free, guys, in the chat to correct me if I'm wrong on that.
But yeah, he would be. I'd love to see a full length interview with him, and you know, all the films he's done. That would be like amazing. Another thing I was going to say about this film as well, if you keep your eye out, there's a lot of one-sheet posters of the time hidden in the background, or not so much hidden, but you can see. There's one for the Boogeyman, there's one for Squirm, Without Warning, in his office. And the way his office is like, you know, basically you've got like an old grindhouse, and it's on top of that old grindhouse. I thought that was really cool as well, to see that in New York City at the time, you know, early 80s, is like gold now, you know, seeing all those rundown sort of theatres and that. So yeah, I love that part as well.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about the movie posters till you brought that up again, and that's, you know, I'm saying De Palma did it great, but I love being able to see horror movie posters in other horror movies. For instance, I mean, I know what a lot of people think of Final Exam, but in Radish's dorm room, for those of you who've seen Final Exam, he has the Toolbox Murders, and I'm trying to remember, like, it seems like he maybe had one, or it seemed like he had one for Murder Is My Beat, and maybe another one. And I can't remember right now, but I believe, like, did Slaughter High, the scene where Dick Randall calls Caroline Monroe, weren't there movie posters? There might have been one for Pieces.
There's one for Pieces, yeah, which he worked on. I would love to have seen like something like Don't Open Till Christmas as well, which he had something to do with that film as well, didn't he?
Yes.
Dick Randall. So I would love to have seen something like that. But yeah, they come out, you know, fairly often in these early sort of 80s films. If you keep your eye out, you see quite a few of them.
Huh, that's interesting, TJ. TJ says, by the way, Siskel and Ebert gave Blowout 2 thumbs up. They loved it. I'm very shocked that they would have gave it 2 thumbs up.
I think I read that somewhere as well. Yeah.
And Little Dumpling's book says, I think he's still very active in theater as well. I believe talking about John Lithgow. You could find a theater performance and go to meet and greet with him. He's supposed to be a really nice guy. He puts off, you know, when you do see like a little snippet of where John Lithgow's talking about something, he does seem to be a very nice guy, laid back guy. Not at all like some of the characters that he has played. But I bet he would be great in a theater performance too. I would love to see him.
So, how big of an actor was he over there in America then? Was he really big actor?
John Lithgow?
Yeah, for his time. Or was he kind of just one of these like maybe underrated people?
I think he was. I think John Lithgow, and guys, feel free in the chat to correct me if I'm wrong on this. But I always felt like John Lithgow was somebody that flew under a lot of people's radars.
Right, because that's what I was thinking. Yeah, but I haven't seen a lot of his films, but obviously, you know, there's Raising Cain, which I was kind of a little bit lukewarm because I could see where that film was going to end up, and it did. But you can't knock his performance in it, you know, or his double performance, I should say. But yeah, he kind of, for me anyway, over here in the UK, he's a face that you know very well, but you can't sort of, you know, say, oh, you know, you put him up with the likes of Travolta or one of the big movie stars of the time. But yeah, very iconic looking, you know, guy as well. We got to come on to that one death scene as well in the when the woman's in the toilet. I thought that was amazing.
Yes.
That is amazing. We'll come on to that.
Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about that. There is what do they call the killer? Is it called the Liberty Bell killer? Is that what they?
Yeah, because the first killing, he pretty much tries to kidnap or kill Nancy Allen's character, but he makes a mistake.
He gets
the wrong girl.
And then, but the look on his face, though, it's like, oh, it's not like he's horrified or anything. It's like, oh well, I killed another bitch. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna
he's so emotionless and ruthless. And then he kills her. Then he kind of stabs her in the Liberty Bell.
Yes.
To try and put people off, you know. And then there's the whole, you know, thing of where they're trying to put people off the scent. They're trying to make it there's a serial killer loose in the city as well. Where we'll come on to now that bathroom scene is absolutely amazing. I think one of the best kills I've seen in a film.
It is amazing, and again, the setup to that.
Yeah.
Working up to that, the twists and turns that De Palma makes us take in just a few minutes of film leading up to that murder. It's just
it's bizarre as well, where he actually kills her, believe it or not, people, with a watch. And when he's pulling the string of the watch, you know, it's bizarre to look at. You think, you know, what is going on here, like? And then you got the tension as well, isn't it, Dana? Where he's looking over the bathroom cubicle at this girl. He goes to strangle her, then pulls away.
There's a bit of voyeurism going on there.
Yeah. It's a masterclass in suspense.
And also, John Lithgow looks like he's enjoying himself immensely during that scene. Almost too much, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of creepy there.
And the way he puts the money up to her as well to indicate, you know, that he wants.
It's almost like trying to get a dog to do something for a treat or something. Do a trick for a treat. Here you go, hooker. Come here.
Exactly, yeah. And his facial expression as well. He's got that character down to it. He just nails it. Absolutely nails it.
Dirk brings up one that I didn't think I would forget that John Lithgow was in. Harry and the Hendersons, Dirk says, is the first film in the movie. He was great in that too. I still love
So there you go. He can do comedy as well, you know.
Oh yes, Little Dumpling's book says he did a lot of theater and was the main character on Third Rock from the Sun, which I loved. Third Rock from the Sun. I mean, I remember when I didn't watch that show when it first came out, like when it was on television, but then when it went into syndication and they had the DVD sets with all the seasons, I started getting those. And I was still living with my parents at the time, and I was just laughing my head off at these episodes. I just loved them so much. And my mom happened to be walking past my room when I was watching a few episodes, and I was just laughing. She said, "Is it that funny, Dana?" She said, "You must really like it." I said, "Yeah, I do. This show's great."
That's
Uh,
interesting because I totally forgot about that and Harry and the Hendersons as well.
and
So
Twilight Zone, the movie, yes.
yeah,
I
yeah,
was
exactly.
bringing up
Yeah,
these great parts.
yeah, I forgot about that one as well.
Oh, here we go. TJ says The World According to Garp was his first huge movie. Lithgow was nominated for an Oscar for that.
Oh, awesome. That's one I've never seen. Maybe you need to check that out then.
I don't think I've seen that either, but I hear a lot of good things about it.
But don't surprise me though that he was nominated for an Oscar. He's that good an actor.
Hmm. So, let's see. I was trying to think if I wanted to. Actually, y'all mentioned that Noah Baumbach earlier that did that documentary on Brian De Palma.
Right, yeah.
Actually, he does an interview with De Palma on this 4K.
Oh, right, that'd be pretty
And I
interesting
don't
then.
think I've had a chance to watch it. I need to go back and watch that. But
I know we mentioned it like pretty much in Dress to Kill, but do you notice there's a like J&B whiskey
yes.
in product placement in this, which is definitely from the Giallo films of the
Oh,
70s.
definitely. Yes.
Um, and yeah, and I think TJ mentioned earlier, this is definitely, I would class this as an American Giallo, although a lot of people probably wouldn't. Oh, it's got everything, it's a murder mystery, you've got the kills, you've got everything. So I
And
would definitely put it in that
a
bracket.
crime thriller, I guess. It's got
Yeah,
those elements in it. Um, and a small bit of political. So I could almost see, De Palma saying it's satire a little bit. Um,
right. Yeah, yeah,
definitely saying, look what doofuses these political guys are. It's almost like De Palma was a little bit ahead of his time there. Um,
yeah, yeah.
with the
And
way
I think,
politicians are portrayed in this.
yeah, I think with me as well, it probably put me off watching this film for a few years because I read, like I said earlier, I read the synopsis and you think political thriller is not really my thing.
Yeah.
But it's so, even though it's a big plot point, there's so much more for the horror fan to enjoy.
Mhm.
Um, I'm so glad that I did eventually, watch this because I would put this as my number two. I think this is my number two De Palma film. I'd put Dress to Kill first. I'd put
Mhm.
Carrie third. Uh, you'd have to put Body Double in the top five as well. Sisters as well, probably. That'd be my top five.
Yeah. Oh, God, it's hard for me to rank these these De Palma films just because
I'm probably missing one as well,
other than like like somebody brought up early on about the hippie type stuff that he did early on, which I'm eventually going to go back and talk about those. um
Right.
things like Greetings, Hi Mom. I did talk about Home Movies, which had both Nancy Allen and Keith Gordon on it, uh, and Garrett Graham as well. um Even though when compared with movies like we're talking about tonight, home movies is like quite a bit weaker. If you watch those, you can still see De Palma's talent shining
Right.
through. So I would definitely encourage people that haven't like watched his real early stuff, um, to go back and watch those. I had never seen home movies at all until I started, doing these series of streams on the De Palma films. And I was like, I'm glad I'm seeing these because you're getting to see a master at work at the beginning. Does that
Right. Yeah.
make
Yeah.
sense?
For me, I'd be a little bit curious, but I don't think I'd actively seek them out. To be honest, it's like the early films of Fulci as well. Those comedies he made,
Right. Exactly.
not really my thing. 5 Days of Milan, Argento, not really my thing. But yeah, they're always good to to go back to and just to see how the director developed. You know.
Mhm. Now, Dirk says, and I'm going to talk about Scarface eventually. Dirk says Scarface is my favorite De Palma, hands down. He says even though Oliver Stone wrote it. Uh,
See, and I'm ashamed to say I've never seen Scarface.
oh
I
wow.
may have seen bits and pieces on TV,
Well,
but
yeah, I mean, there's some infamous scenes, I guess, on there, like with the cocaine and um,
right,
the
okay,
say hello to my little friend line, and you know, different things like that that people are familiar with. Um,
right.
but I really, I would encourage everybody to try. Don't go out and buy it. Because you might not like it that well.
Is that like a mob film, man?
Kind,
See,
kind of
that
like
puts me off a little bit.
I guess it talks about when a lot of criminals were coming over from Cuba. It was
Right,
during
okay,
that time period, and I mean, there were some people that weren't criminals, but the criminals were kinda sneaking over with the regular people. Castro was basically trying to get rid of all the undesirables out of Cuba, and so
right.
they were coming into the United States, and Scarface is definitely about, I guess, that subculture or whatever, the gritty criminal element of that subculture, I guess.
Did De Palma make? I might be totally off with this one. Did he make Carlito's Way? Or am I getting that totally wrong? Probably getting it.
I think he may have. He may have, Darren, because
I'm
that
not sure.
I'm gonna have to look at my list of the Palma movies. Oh, the chainsaw scene on Scarface, and Dirk says. Um,
It's definitely one I would check out for sure. I'm not massive on like mob films and stuff.
John
Like The
does
Godfather and all that. You know, go on,
John
sorry.
does confirm that he did make Carlito's Way.
I remember liking that. See,
So I'm
um,
definitely gonna. I don't know if I've seen Carlito's Way, so that might be my first watch when I
yeah,
get.
Pacino, I think's in that as well.
Mm-hmm, believe
That
so.
was played a lot in the UK on UK TV back in the day. That was. Um,
So, Darren, is there anything else you want to discuss about Blowout?
I don't know if you're going to go into. We're not really going to spoil the ending or anything, but I thought like the car chase. When he's chasing the train
Mm,
towards the end of the film, I thought that was really good. And I would love to have seen that go on a little bit longer, like like what Freaking could do with his early chase scenes.
right,
I
and
thought
that
I
was
had,
a very tense scene too. Now that you,
yeah, yeah. If slightly gone on a bit longer, I think it would have been a lot better. And we sort of get Travolta. I'm not going to spoil too much anyway, but
but
he does end up crashing, which is kind of you think, God, really would he, not so much survive, but would he be so alert not long after? I
right.
don't know.
And it's also another kind of nod to Hitchcock, the way it keeps
Yeah,
flashing back and forth between what's going on with Nancy Allen's character and what's going on with John Travolta's character, and you just get more and more tense the whole time.
right. Yeah, and it's so well done, like you say, where he's got the listening device and
Yeah.
he's picking her up, then he's not picking her up, and he goes chasing after the train, and then jumps in the car. All done fantastically well, superbly well, and then you've got that real sort of comedy ending with the scream, which I think we could mention. It's not going to spoil anything, I don't think. So where the girl obviously they're trying to get a scream from a girl earlier on in the film for his slasher film they've been making, and then uses, let's say, one of the main characters' scream to end the film. I don't know. How did you feel about that ending? Because I kind of felt like a little bit, I don't know,
where him using that particular scream, at one point it made me kind of angry. It's like,
yeah,
what the hell, dude? Why are you doing that?
It's kind of disrespectful to her character, I thought.
But then you see the sick look on John Travolta's face. That last look he has, it's like, I don't know if you would call it regret.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I got that from it. When you first watch it, you just think, why did he do that? And I think he's trying to put a little bit of humor, but then still end on quite a, like you say, with the regret. But I don't know, I was mixed on. I still am a little bit mixed on it. If anything, I thought it kind of could have been done a little bit more gracefully rather than like have a bit of a comedy element.
It was definitely out of character for John Travolta's character. It was not
right.
Throughout the whole film, you didn't get any indication that he would ever do anything like that.
The only way I can look at that in a positive note is say, well, maybe Travolta's character was trying to let her live on, if in a funny way, through that scream. She sort of, maybe that's his way of remembering her.
She was immortal that way.
Yeah, maybe. And if you look at it like that, it does slightly become better. But yeah, it's a little bit off the wall, that ending was. But again, it doesn't take anything away from.
No, it's still an incredible film, and I would encourage anybody and everybody, if you've never seen it, to watch it. I mean, don't necessarily go out and buy the high price version out there, or I'm sure that you could find it for free somewhere before you actually go out and spend money. Because that, again, that's something I hate for people to do. They hear, one or two people say how fantastic a film is, and then they go and they spend their money on it, and they're like, that's a piece of shit. So I don't ever want to do that to anybody.
I think I've mentioned it before, but me and Dirk, I got to watch the Stendhal Syndrome because I love that film, and Dirk hated it, and I've always felt a bit guilty. But yeah, another thing I just want to mention about this film as well was the music by Pino Donaggio, and throughout the early part of the film, it's not that prominent, but then the second half it sort of kicks in. And then you've got this haunting piano sort of score, which I thought was fantastic. Similar to Dress to Kill, but not quite, the same.
Right.
Yeah, that's another plus point for me. I'd love to get the soundtrack of this film. And I think that's kind of underrated as well. Pino Donaggio, obviously one of the greats of all time.
Great composer. Yes, I love his work. I believe that if you get or were able to get the Carrie vinyl from Waxwork Records, I believe that Pino Donaggio's score is quite prominent on that release. I have it. I just haven't listened to it in a little while, but I was just blown away by that. I know this sounds kind of elitist or hipster or whatever you want to say, but I liked vinyl when vinyl was popular the first time around. I'm not one of these people that kind of just jumped on the bandwagon after the fact when vinyl got revitalized, or it came back into fashion and got popular again. I mean, my parents had vinyl. My parents had 8 tracks. I mean, I used to listen to 8 tracks growing up. they still had an 8-track player that worked. And man, I would plug those 8 tracks in there and listen to them. But we also, mom and dad had a stereo with a record player in it. And we used to, around Christmas time, all the time, mom would put on her Elvis Christmas records, and
Right.
we would listen to them that way. And it was just incredible, incredible time periods. And I think part of it, again, is the nostalgia thing, that
Yeah.
I want to get that same feeling that I did growing up when my family would sit around and listen to records, or me and my brother would listen to records with my mom or something, or mom would be driving around in the car, and this is back when cars still had 8-track players in them. I mean, I'm showing
Right.
my age here, guys. I'm really showing my age here. But I remember mom had an 8-track for Tommy James and the Shondells. I don't know how many people are familiar with that group, but I think that's why I love Tommy James and the Shondells now, is because my mom played the heck out of that 8-track. Songs like Crimson and Clover, and gosh, I'm trying to, Hanky Panky, and all those different songs that they did. Dragging the Line. I mean, there were just a ton of great songs by that group. I say go out and find Tommy James and the Shondells to listen to them. But
Right. I will say about the music vinyl thing as well. It's something that before, probably well before I was really into, certainly into collecting films and that. I was always buying vinyls, music. I was a big sort of metal fan in the early 80s and whatever. But actually now I do own a few soundtracks and that. But actually, a CD would actually be more like the recording of what the artist done in the days. Because whereas you've got the vinyl with the cracks and pops, you never got, while they were making the film, that's never making the music. Sorry, that was never a thing. So I sometimes rather listen to the CD because it's more like the vision of the artist or the soundtrack. But yeah, I still, if I see an LP in a charity shop or something, I still got quite a few soundtracks I was bought. I know you've got the Prowler one. I think
yes.
you both got. I got, and the Burning as well. I think you guys. I think you got the Burning.
Yeah, I have the Burning. That's not. I think the Burning that I've got though is like an original release.
That's right. You got the white cover one. You got the better cover one actually. They did reissue it. I have got the reissue, but yes, but like I say, I kind of, I can see, but I hate all these hipsters as well. They even with the DVD Blu-ray community, for me they just ruin it. But I don't want to get on that.
Yeah, we could have a whole stream just about that. We could have an Uncle Bill style rant on that.
Yeah, his last rant, mine Uncle Bill. I remember he was absolutely spot on what he was saying.
Yes, I was shaking my head. Yep, that's right.
I don't know what Uncle Rad would have thought of it, but
I don't know. Uncle Rad needs to come on and do his own rant, like as a response to Uncle Bill. I think
it's kind of like the Michael Caine character. The two of them got this mirror image.
Exactly. I got to put this up here though too. Dirk said my mom had Air Supply playing on 8-track. Good old times. Yeah, my parents or my mom never had Air Supply, but I do love Air Supply. Go ahead, guys, make fun of me for liking Air Supply, but I do. Steve laughs at me all the time for my musical choices. When I was back when I was working part-time, so I was home, I had more free time at home to like listen to records and stuff like that. And he came in one day and I was listening to Joan Baez. And he was like, "Oh my God, Dana, can we turn that off?" But I'm kind of eclectic. I mean, I like a lot of different types of music. I don't just like one type. Like, I'll listen to Janis Joplin. I'll listen to Joan Baez. I'll listen to Joni Mitchell. But I'll listen to heavy metal too. It's
Right.
just
Yeah.
I don't just pigeonhole myself into liking just one type of music.
Well, I was like in the early days, I was a massive metal fan. I've seen all the top, all the groups in tour the UK, and but I've kind of got out of that. I still listen. I just find newer music not as good anymore. But now I can listen to anything, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I can listen to ABBA, honestly, in the bath or wherever. I'll put my phone, and play songs by ABBA. And then again, I'll still go back to like Iron Maiden, Saxon, stuff like that as well.
Oh yeah.
So I think, I'm kind of easygoing now, whereas I used to be just Megadeth, Metallica. But now I can, I listen to Fleetwood Mac as well.
Oh,
The
Fleetwood
lady
Mac,
passed
amazing.
away. Didn't the woman pass away recently? Today, I think, actually,
Oh,
from Fleetwood
really?
Mac. Not Stevie Nicks, the other one. I'm not sure of her name.
Christine
Yeah,
McVie.
she
Oh,
died today,
wow.
which
Oh,
I
that
thought was
bums
sad.
me out.
Yeah,
She
but
has
yeah,
one of those people with an incredible voice. Now, see, somebody too that probably not a lot of people think about nowadays, but Karen Carpenter.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Karen Carpenter had one of the most incredible voices. I don't care who you are. I don't know. I don't care what you say. You're not going to change my mind on that. And, I listened to the last album the Carpenters did together that Karen did with her brother.
right. Yeah,
And, part of it might be that I knew that she died not long after they did the songs for that album. But the one song, and I'm sorry I'm forgetting the title of it, but her voice is so beautiful on that song. And I just find myself crying, not only because of what happened to her, sadly, but just
yeah.
because her voice is so beautiful.
But I can remember buying, like, one of my old girlfriends wanted the Carpenter's collection, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd never heard them before, or didn't think much of it, much into it, didn't look much into it. But then when she played some of those songs, and knowing, like you say, the outcome of what happened with it, songs like "Close to You" and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
they're classics. They really are. They might not be everyone's cup of tea, and I wouldn't recommend, listening to them when you're kind of not in the greatest mindset.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, they're classics, and I'll put them on now and again, as well. I do enjoy a bit of Carpenters.
So yeah, TJ says she died yesterday. Talking about Christine McVie.
Oh right, yeah,
And I do want to answer Rob. He's probably already left, but he says this was a great stream. Thanks. Got to run. See you later. Well, thank you, Rob. If you
yeah.
listen to this
Thank
later,
you.
um, Dirk mentioned the Doors. The Doors, again, no matter what you might think of Jim Morrison, the Doors was an incredible band.
Yeah,
And Jim Morrison, despite all his many demons that I guess he fought for the majority of his life, was an incredible artist. I
yeah,
will call him an artist. He was an incredible artist. He just sadly, he got lost along the way and abused too many substances, and that's going to get you in the end. So, but as far as the music, I thought it was amazing.
a lot of these artists, so they have sort of ended up in a similar way, which is quite sad. And some of the geniuses, that sadly passed away far too young. But then you've always got the music element to go back to, but the Doors is one I've never really, listened to a lot of their stuff. But obviously the classics I have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's so many people I know that love the Doors and think that guy is amazing. So there's definitely something in it.
Now, people might disagree with me on this. I don't know if Darren would, but I always thought John Lennon was a genius.
Yeah.
That guy was a musical genius, and I could only imagine what he would be doing even now if he had
Yeah.
lived. If the unfortunate thing had not happened to him, what kind of amazing stuff he would have done past 1980. Can you just
Yeah.
imagine that? I mean,
Yeah, well, you've seen like Paul McCartney and during the 80s as well, like maybe a bit
yes.
closer to come out with some phenomenal stuff. But like you say, even I think Lennon was even more talented. So can you imagine how big that guy would have been today? Is just incredible. That was again so sad, so pointless, that murder as well.
Mhm.
I've like I'd say fairly recently I've gone back and watched a few documentaries on the way he got killed and that, and it was a massive story at the time. I can remember, I think I was about 10 years old. Even in the UK, obviously UK was massive. But yeah, it was such a pointless, like, oh, just a pointless death.
I mean,
Makes you angry.
very angry. I mean, I knew who the Beatles were in passing, but I think my great introduction to them and what really got me interested in John Lennon as a solo artist was watching that Beatles anthology when that came
Yeah,
out. What was that, like 96? Was it 96 when that came out?
I'm not sure.
Oh,
I
so
actually think, in some ways, I think Lennon's solo stuff is better than the Beatles, or not so much better, but I prefer it. I would say.
well, not to put Paul McCartney down or anything, because Paul McCartney's an amazing artist as in his own right. But I think McCartney and maybe the others, Ringo and George, probably especially George, probably reeled Lennon in a lot.
Oh yeah, they were riding on his coattails, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't allow him to go to that next level. Um,
yeah,
and it might have been, I think McCartney, I love Paul McCartney. I love his music, and I don't think he's a bad, nasty guy or anything. But I do think during that time period, right before the Beatles broke up, I think Paul was a little bit scared of Lennon's talent. I
yeah,
think he was afraid that John Lennon was going to overshadow him, and it made him angry. And
yeah, for sure. I don't like you say. McCartney went on to some great stuff, didn't he? After the
Mhm.
Beatles. But yeah, we're kind of missing what Lennon could have done, which is yeah,
And whatever people may think of Yoko Ono, I'm just going to put this out there, guys. I'm not saying she's one of the great singers or anything, but if you look at some of her other stuff, I'm not talking about the stuff where she like screams on John Lennon's albums and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. But if you look at like I think that one book she put out, Grapefruit, I think was what it was called. And she had some really good things in that book. I remember um, looking through that book. I don't know if I got it through the library or an interlibrary loan or something, but I do remember looking at the book. And I actually thought her short films that she did way back in the 60s were interesting. Um, People want to call her, they say she had no talent, and they say she was just kind of, I guess, lorded John's talent over everybody and all of that, and kind of tried to ride on the coattails of his talent. And she may have in some respects, but I do think that Yoko had talent as an artist. She may
yeah,
not have talent as a singer necessarily, but as an artist, I think she had a talent and probably still does so have a talent. But I could get off on a whole other thing. We could have a whole Beatles stream and talk
yeah,
about stuff. But I think that's about all I've got. And we're down to 4 people. I would imagine a lot of people are going over to the Dead Pit stream.
I did see one of my sort of popped up. Dead Pit was doing a stream.
And honestly, guys, I didn't realize until I'd already scheduled this one that they were doing something.
I hope I haven't put people off watching. Could be me. You never know.
No. Texas says, I saw Yoko live and Sean Lennon was playing bass, and I thought she was fantastic. See, now Texas knows a lot about music. I mean, Yoko, whether you love her or you hate her, she's still an interesting woman. I want to say that. I didn't like the way that John treated Cynthia, his first wife. I thought that was kind of anybody that's read the stories or heard what Cynthia had to say about it. And I think hadn't Cynthia passed away, Darren?
I'm not sure. Okay. I'm not, like I said, I wouldn't say I was a massive Beatles fan or anything. Okay. I've not really read any of his, books or any of that. But I do find him, I just find the whole incident with his death fascinating. To the mindset of the killer as well, and because he was stalking him, wasn't he? And he actually took a picture of. Honestly, it just blows my mind.
That is so creepy, and also makes me angry. Because he had, and there's the famous picture. That a guy took of John Lennon signing Mark David Chapman's Double Fantasy album, I believe. I believe it was Double Fantasy.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
And hours later, Mark David Chapman was going to kill him.
It's crazy, and well, crazy is a good word, actually. But yeah, I'm more of like an old sort of punk Sex Pistols fan. And funny enough, a few years earlier in New York, when you had the Sid and Nancy,
Yes.
So yeah, ironic. Yeah, I just thought of that. Now being that was New York City as well.
Yeah, and I like some punk music, but I guess the harder edge stuff like the Sex Pistols, I never was into as much as something like the Ramones. I think I was more of a Ramones person.
Have you read up on the whole Sid and Nancy? The killing and all that.
I haven't, but it's like I heard about it, but haven't delved too deeply into it.
If you do get the chance, there's plenty of documentaries, probably on YouTube as well. If you do get the spare, hour or two, and you want to delve into it, it's kind of like once you start, you just want to keep reading more and more and more. Whether he did it, I think personally, I think he did. I think he did kill her. I think he was out of his mind at the time on drugs. And there's just no other way that it could have been anyone else. The whole mystery to that is fantastic. And I urge people, if you don't know nothing about it or you're going in blind, to definitely go in and read up about that and watch things, because it's fascinating as well. It's a horror story in itself, with the Mark Chapman thing as well.
Right.
It was Mark Chapman, wasn't it, who killed Lennon?
Yeah, Mark David Chapman, yes. Yeah. He was the guy that killed Lennon. And I'm guessing Mark David Chapman's still alive and still in prison.
I think he is, yeah. Yeah, he's in prison, but just as psychotic. Wasn't he like reading The Catcher in the Rye at the same time?
Yeah, which I hate that kind of stuff when and I know what they think. When people kill somebody, they think that that's going to get them off easier if they say, I read this book, I saw this movie, and then I got the idea to go kill somebody.
Yeah, they just... Did he claim he was psychotic then? For a while, didn't he?
Maybe. That guy just like... I saw an interview. I don't remember what year this was now, but I saw an interview that they did with Chapman in prison, And, it was kind of like he was saying he was sorry for killing Lennon, but, it didn't seem sincere.
Yeah, I think I've seen that as well.
Yeah, where he was saying he was sorry to Yoko, he was sorry, um, to Sean and stuff like that, and it's like, dude, you're not sincere. You're not sincere about this all. I mean, I just don't understand, and I don't really want to know what gets in people's minds and makes them wanna do such horrible things. I mean, I know he said that John Lennon was a fake and yada yada yada, but who designated him judge and jury to take somebody out just because you think they're fake or false? Or
wasn't he was like a big fan at one time of him as well, wasn't he? And he kind of changed his mind through something or other.
But yeah, he's tried to go back and say that he first got angry with John Lennon when John Lennon said he made that comment, that off the cuff comment about being bigger than Jesus Christ.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That rings a bell now, actually.
And he talked like he was really into some kind of, I guess, a fanatical religious group at the time.
Yeah, like a satanic group. He was very much into reading up on all kinds of things. And I think with someone like that, he's psychotic. End of. You can put him behind bars. He's still the same now. They probably obviously got him on so many drugs, so maybe he's not a danger anymore. But I would imagine he's probably never seen other inmates in prison because he just wouldn't be safe for him. He's probably on his own somewhere.
No, somebody would say, "You're the guy that killed John Lennon. I'm killing your ass."
Yeah. And these prisoners as well, they get sort of brownie points for doing that. They get this put on a pedestal. If you say, "Oh, I killed the killer of John Lennon," you would become kind of a god in prison. People would,
Well, and I think
like a badge of honor.
Yeah, I think that even bad guys have a code.
Yeah,
even
exactly.
If you're a designated an evil person that should never get out of prison, never see the light of day again, there are still certain crimes that they will kill you in prison for.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Child molesters will get killed in prison.
Yeah, that's another badge of honor thing. They just and they're so protected as well, which is wrong. But that's another story. And the sort of the scummier you are, basically, the more protected you are, which is completely wrong.
Yeah.
But I guess that's for you over there as well as the UK.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much widespread. Speaking of the UK, I forget what this show is called now, but Steve watches it, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, Darren, but basically it's where they bring people in like they've been charged or they're about to be charged with certain crimes.
And the 24 hours in police
maybe
custody?
That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah. They're interesting to watch, yeah.
They say a lot of no comment. They'll have them wrapped in a blanket. They're saying no comment. But anyway, Steve was watching an episode the other day, and I was kind of upset with it, and he was too, because there was a guy that they'd brought in, but some guys were breaking into his house, and he took out after them. And I think Steve said that they hit his vehicle, but because they got badly injured, he was the one that got in trouble. He had to go to prison for so many months.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't surprise me at all. The system is fucked, to be honest with you.
And his wife was pregnant with their baby, and she aborted the baby because he was going to be in prison so long and wouldn't be around. And I was like, I told Steve, I said, even if you went to prison, if I was pregnant, I would not abort the baby. I would find some way to take care of that baby. So it got even more messed up as it went along.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, it's almost 10:30, so I'm thinking unless Darren's got anything else he wants to bring up, promote, anything like that.
Only our podcast on Sunday,
No.
which I'm looking forward to. Alice, Sweet Alice, sort of similar vein as American Giallo, so
yes,
looking
and I
forward to
think
that. Anybody on the Deadite Patreon, but I've said it before, like if anybody wants to get a copy, just let me know on Facebook, and I'll email a MP3 over. I don't think Wes would mind if I'd done that anyway.
I wouldn't imagine he would. Now I think Dirk's going to be on there with us this coming Sunday, so
yeah, looking forward to that one.
We'll have the whole gang to back together again. It's like the Blues Brothers, the band's getting back together again. So
I think I pretty much know how you feel about that film. I'm interested to see. But I think I know how Dirk feels about it as well. But I'm interested to see what Steve thinks. I don't think I've ever.
Yeah, that could be interesting. That could be interesting. So I've got a copy of it. I don't know if Steve does, so we'll probably watch it maybe Friday or Saturday or tomorrow or Saturday.
I've got this I still haven't read it.
Oh, awesome.
It's all about the making of the film. It's even got the script. A totally different script that was first, for the film. So I'm going to try, and it doesn't seem that big a read. So I'm going to try and get that in, hopefully before Sunday.
That's a cool looking book too. I like the way it's
made. Troy Howarth and Holy Communion. Pretty much the making of Alice, Sweet Alice. You get a chance. I mean, it's only like £20, probably $15, or
that's not bad.
Maybe $20 in America. If you get a chance, obviously I've not read it, but I've heard that it's really good, really detailed, goes into behind the scenes and everything. But that film is just, I cannot wait to talk about that film.
I am going to look up real quick on IMDb to see what my next 2 movies for De Palma.
Oh, right, yeah.
So people will kind of get a heads up.
But I would imagine Body Double will probably be one. Or did he do? Yeah, he must have done Body Double.
Yeah.
Fairly quickly after.
Let's see here.
I think I was 84, so 3 years after Blowout.
What in the heck? Well, there we go. All right. So I want to see all. I think they've redone the format for IMDb, it looks like. Kind of through a little bit. Okay. So actually, we are going to be talking about Body Double, but we're also going to be talking about Scarface. So Scarface and Body Double are going to be
there
the
you go. You get maybe Dirk on. I definitely love Body Double, but I've never really got it, seen Scarface. So.
Well, you can still come on, Darren. You could talk about Body Double, even if you don't get a chance to see Scarface before.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But definitely, if I'm up for that hour anyway, I'll definitely pop on.
Oh yeah.
I need a reason to see Body Double again anyway, because I recently bought the Blu-ray. So yeah, never get enough of the Palma.
Me either. So on that note, guys, I want to thank Darren for being my co-host on this tonight. It's a lot more enjoyable to have somebody to bounce ideas off of and bounce thoughts off of than just having me on here blabbing for an hour or two.
I hope we've both been entertaining for people. I always enjoy these anyway, Dana. So whenever you want to invite me on more, as long as obviously it's a bit hard with the times and that, being early in the morning.
Exactly.
Sometimes maybe the commentary's a little bit easier because they're a little bit earlier. But I understand, But yeah, I'm happy to come on whenever.
Well,
I really enjoy these.
You have an open invitation. Basically, anybody, unless you show me that you're going to be an asshole on here, and nobody has as yet. So, you have an open invitation to come on anytime you want to. If you feel comfortable, if you feel comfortable doing audio only and don't want to be on video, that's fine too. I don't pay attention anymore. I know I'm on video, but I don't really pay attention to it.
Yeah, I see. I used to get nervous, but now it's starting to go a little bit.
Yeah, the more of these you do, it just becomes kind of old hat after a while. But so I have I probably won't do anything tomorrow night because usually Fridays I don't do anything. But Saturday, you can look forward to the Black Christmas watch along.
Nice.
And this is the original Bob Clark classic. And then Sunday, I will be doing a watch along for Night of the Comet. So we've got those two coming up. And also the following Saturday, I think I have the promotion up for this already. Don't Open Till Christmas. I will be doing a watch along for
awesome
that one as well.
I like yourself, I got the Blu-ray recently to that.
Did you get the Vinegar Syndrome one?
Yeah. Awesome. I've been dying to open it, but I was going to leave it like closer to Christmas because I think that would be like perfect on Christmas Eve. But now you're doing a commentary, I'll watch it then. I love that film again. It's like the UK version of Pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Texas says, excellent stream. Well, thank you, Texas. And Dirk says, damn, Dane, I was hoping it was the 2019 Black Christmas. Said no one.
Oh, no.
No, I would rather do that one, the halfway decent remake than that 2019 piece of crap.
Well, did you actually like the 2006 one? I hated that as well.
I didn't the first time I watched it, but it's kind of grown on me.
I hear that. Yeah. I hear that quite a lot.
Yeah. The first time I watched it, I absolutely hated it.
I've watched it once now. I just hated it. I haven't gone back. Maybe I need to go back to that. I probably will, actually, because there's quite a few. There's not that many Christmas films, actually, horror films, that you would think there'd be hundreds, wouldn't you? But there's actually not. So I might give that a go this Christmas.
Well, the gold star level Christmas horror films, there's not a whole lot of those.
No. You had to win Christmas Eve, though, were you? Coming like before Christmas? A commentary? I'm not sure. Did you write it down? I'm not sure. I think I mentioned it. You don't have to. You don't.
Yeah, I think I did write it down, Darren. I'm pretty sure. And we will try to get to that one because I can,
if you do, I will say if you do it, like, could you do it like not far before Christmas? Because I think that's got the perfect, even like a week before.
We could do it the 17th, which is the Saturday before Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump on if you do that one.
Yeah, well, let's make that a plan. I will get some promotion together for that for December 17th.
Yeah, let's see if we can get a few more people in as well, hopefully. Get TJ, Dirk, Tex, maybe.
Dirk's voting for Maniac. Now, I promise you guys, if I don't get to all these winter, like Christmas type of things, now don't forget we're gonna do New Year's Evil on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I'm up for that as well. I said that, didn't I? I think that'd be really cool to actually do, like you say, we're doing it on New Year's Eve. I'm not sure that'll probably. I think, we're 5 hours difference, so it's going to be what? I don't know what time did you say you were going to do it, roughly?
I'll probably do it 8 o'clock my time, so we won't be like you will
So
still
that'd be
be able.
perfect. That'd be
Well,
perfect because that'd be
okay.
1 a.m. my time.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
all
Okay.
the celebrations to be over with. We won't have all that in the background going off, all the bangs and that. So that'd be perfect if you do it for that time, 1 o'clock.
Because sadly, Steve is not really interested in partying with me. He'll probably be long in bed, so don't anybody expect him to be on.
I'd love to get Steve to do a couple of these commentaries as well. It'd be awesome if he could do, even if he could do one or two, like where you get, and even like where's Aaron, all the people I just mentioned as well, and Jay. I remembering Jay as well. Be
Yes.
lovely to get like 5 or 6 people and
I mean,
do
I keep trying to encourage people to come on. I mean, I did get Uncle Bill to come on for the offerings watch along. We had a good time with
I
that.
thought that was a brilliant stream. Actually, I thought like
You like
the
that
two
one?
of the two of you, like your rapport, you get on so well. There's no like with me, you probably get the odd nervous like silence now and again. But I thought you and Uncle Bill just nailed that. Brilliant.
I
So entertaining, isn't he, Uncle Bill?
we haven't been friends as long as he and CK have been friends, but when I think about it, he and I have been friends for a few years now, and so I that's probably one of the reasons we got that rapport. If this had been like early in our friendship, then I don't think it would have been as good. But now that we've,
Right,
been
because
friends
you've
for a
met them
while.
face to face and everything. But when we did the one commentary as well, when CK was on,
Mhm.
um, trying to think what film was that? Savage Streets, maybe was it? Or my
It was Butcher Baker Nightmare.
Butcher Baker, that's right.
Mhm.
He like CK as well. I was surprised that obviously I've never done a stream with him before. He's like a professional. He's like a pro. He's so and when you watch these guys, for years, and then you're actually on a stream with them, and you realize yourself as well how good you are, at, communicating and talking and all that. It's eye opening because I thought Wes was just the thing I got out of that stream was just he was just so professional. It's just natural. Do you know what I mean? The way yourself and the
Well,
way you
me,
talk.
I still think of myself as a newbie as far as this kind of stuff. I just get on here and just ramble. Uh,
No,
so-
I see. No, I don't see that. So every time I watch your streams, I don't get to see them all live or whatever.
Mm.
But I'm never bored, honestly, and I mean that. I sincerely hang on most like every word.
Well, thank you, Darren. I
You
appreciate.
got this thing where you can just keep it. Honestly, I couldn't do it, but you just even on your own, you can keep it going for like 2 hours, and you just uh,
Well,
brilliant. I
see,
think.
that's the thing. Some people I think are turned off by the length of mine. I mean, I know that probably Red when he made that one comment that night, and I got kind of snippy with him. He came back to another stream though,
I
but
actually think that maybe like you might have read that a bit wrong. Obviously, he was a little bit critical, but I don't think he was trying to be an asshole or anything. That's the way I took it.
yeah,
Like,
and I kind of feel bad the way I kind of snipped at him a little bit, but um, I don't know. I think I wasn't feeling too well, and I probably
yeah, I remember.
need
Yeah,
to apologize to him and it was not necessarily all him. I mean, and again, guys, before I say this, I love my husband. I do, but he has been very critical of a lot of things that I do online. He's critical of the length of my intro. He's critical of me. He thinks I go on too long with these streams, and um, so he's critical of even how I design my promotion. He says you stretch pictures, Dana. I don't like that. I'm like,
right.
I don't know what you're talking about. I try to make them fill the screen or fill the space when I'm doing promotion, but you know,
As a viewer, I actually like the longer streams. I think there's nothing worse when you get like a decent stream and it's like 40 odd minutes, and by the time you really get into it, it's finished. I like the longer streams, even with the YouTube format, where as even if you can't watch 3 hours in a row, you can watch it the next day, or you can break it up into 3 parts. But yeah, I don't know. I've always liked the longer format. I think as long as you're enjoying it, which you are, and that comes across that you actually love what you're talking about, it does come across through the screen. Then yeah, just go for it, man. Do what you love.
Well, Steve gets in moods too where and Darren and Dirk probably both know this, but they probably won't say anything. But I think everybody knows Steve gets in these moods sometimes where like he'll want to go for a couple of weeks and not do anything. He doesn't want to do the streams that he does on Dead Pit, or he won't want to do Ural Cult for 2 or 3 weeks. I I kind of worry about him when he gets like that, because I can understand somebody not wanting to get burnt out, but I don't get burnt out from this stuff. I don't consider it work. I consider my job
Right,
work.
right. Yeah, yeah.
But I consider this fun time. I consider this a hobby. I consider this sharing my passion for movies and in some cases music or books or whatever we're talking about at the time. Mostly movies, but
I think that's a shame because I'd like to see Steve on with yourself on this. Bring Steve in and do quite a bit of work with him as well. But yeah, it's a shame, Alice, because I think the two of you would be great.
I would love to also, and I miss, the two against stuff that we did together. He's not interested in doing that anymore. He's not interested in doing commentaries with me anymore. We did a ton of commentaries early in our marriage.
I've got quite a few of them, on my hard drive. I hope I'm not, with the Euro Cult podcast. I hope that doesn't stop, him doing the two against, because I wouldn't like to.
Well, I think he would have stopped doing the two against, regardless of whether he started at the Eurocall again. So I really think I really think Steve is, and he'll probably kill me for saying this, but I really think Steve is suffering from some sort of depression. He will not admit to it. He says, I'm not depressed, but everybody gets depressed sometimes.
Yes, like men probably don't admit it. I suffer depression, I'm on medication. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's maybe he's just losing a little bit of enthusiasm. But if ever, I don't want to sort of say anything untoward or anything. If ever you want to do a two against podcast and include myself or whatever, I'd be happy to do that. I don't want to like upset Steve though. That's something,
I think I upset him, but I don't think anybody else upsets him, honestly.
But if you ever want to do that in the future, you don't have to, sometime in the future, if you ever want to bring back your seductive poison or anything like that, and you need someone, then I'd be happy to do it,
Yeah, I keep hearing from Jenny periodically that she would love to get together and do something. And I would love to have somebody else even on there with us if we got together to do something. Because there was at least 1 or 2 times where back when I was still living with my parents and me and Steve were dating, that me and Jenny would do a commentary or something and bring Steve on.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And those were fun. And I just, like I said, I worry about Steve now because like you said, it seems like he's lost his enthusiasm, and I worry when people start losing their enthusiasm for things that they once enjoyed. He says, I've got to sleep. That's his big thing. I've got to sleep. And I know, and I'm not putting down CK at all, but I know CK and some other people try to make light of it, but I'm really worried about it. I think there's a health issue, even if it's not depression that's making him like that. there's definitely some health issue going on, and I tell him that I think he needs to have it checked out. And
I would just recommend maybe going to the doctor and having just an annual checkup. Like maybe he's low and something easy like potassium or something like that. You know, I'm not a medical expert, right? Maybe it's something as easy to fix as that, and you know.
I have suspicions that he's got sleep apnea because
All right.
I know you guys aren't here to listen to him when he's sleeping, but he scares me sometimes. I've actually felt of his body to make sure he's still breathing because
Right.
he does that thing where he'll take in a big breath and then you won't hear anything, and all of a sudden just it comes out in a big old like a snore.
Right.
And my brother did that for years, and he's got sleep apnea. But Steve did one of those sleep tests and they sent it off, but he said, I never heard anything back from it. And he said, it's probably because I couldn't wear the thing properly. He said all the little wires and stuff that they wanted him to put on, he said it drove him crazy. He couldn't sleep if he wanted to.
Is
So,
he like? I hope you don't mind. I don't want to get personal or anything. Um, if he has, say, like an 8 hour sleep, is he still tired when he wakes up or anything?
oh yeah. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
how
maybe
much
that's.
sleep he gets, he's still tired and he says, I need more sleep. It's like, how much more sleep do you need, Steve? And I do think that's part of it. I think it
I think
depression,
that's depression. Yeah, I was going to say because I've suffered the same,
and
and no
you
matter
just
how much
want to
rest you
sleep.
get, go on, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's all you want to do is sleep because I went through severe depression.
Yeah, yeah.
I watched my poor mother suffer through it before she got on medication. And she had to go to a psychiatrist. I've been to a psychiatrist. I don't try to hide that because
I have as
everybody
well.
needs a little help sometimes. So,
The
uh,
best thing I ever done was get on medication for it. Really. So I do suffer a little bit anxiety as well.
I do too.
So I pretty much got to take an Ambien every night to get sleep. It's awful. But
Do you have panic attacks too, Darren?
I used to, but the medication's kind of on top of that at the moment.
Well, that's
But
good.
yeah, I used to be horrendous. You go out in public and you start shaking and sweating and
Yes,
horrible.
and people don't understand that don't have it themselves or haven't seen a family member with it before or something.
Oh,
And
people
they're like,
people look at you like you're some sort of idiot and just
uh,
what's wrong when you pull yourself together type of thing. But it's so much, so
and
many things that can lead up to that.
Steve's other thing, and again, he'll probably kill me, but I have brought this up before in my streams that Steve has trouble stabilizing his mood, which by that I mean Steve is quick to anger.
Right. Yeah.
And, he's never like beat on me or anything like that, but Steve can hurt somebody emotionally because when he gets angry like that, he has been known to call people ugly names and um, just get very angry. And I'm saying it's like flipping a light switch. He'll come in from work, so to speak, for example, and you'll think he's okay. You say one wrong thing to him that doesn't sit well, and it's like a 5 alarm fire burst
Right.
inside him. And so then that other person or any people that is around you are forced to walk on eggshells all the time. And I know that you guys don't see that. A lot of people don't see that side of Steve. Only his family pretty much sees that side of Steve, and my family has seen that side of Steve now. Um, and he unfortunately does not want, and I brought this up before too, does not want to take the medication that's been prescribed for him that helps stabilize that mood.
Yeah. See, that could be because when you start taking the medication, you get a couple of weeks where it makes you worse before you can become better. You
Yes.
know what I mean? So maybe there's that. I hope he doesn't mind, take offence or anything that we're talking about.
I
Because generally, honestly, a concern. Hopefully, I hope he sort of, could get to the bottom of it. It sounds
yeah.
like depression, but you know,
And I don't think he will even know anything about this because I don't think he always watches a few seconds or maybe a few minutes of my stream, and so he's never come to me and said, and I've talked more than once about this stuff or said that I was upset with him, but I'm only upset with him because he won't take the medication, and he's under the impression that he can stop and start that
no,
kind
that's
of
the worst. That's
medication
the
at
worst thing
will.
you can do. Yeah,
And the
that's the worst
doctor
thing you
has
can do.
told him not to do that.
That's possibly why he's sort of getting sort of tempers and stuff, because you need to obviously take it, and even when you come off it, you can't come straight off it. You need to wean yourself off it.
Mhm.
So yeah, if Steve's watching this, I don't tell me to butt late or whatever. I can. Obviously, Dana's just concerned,
Mhm.
and we all are. We'd love to see Steve, doing well again and that.
Yeah, he's still a person I love because I know the Steve that I met at first is still there. I know that Steve is still there, but it's sad because I don't get to see that Steve very much. This and again, you guys don't see, you may see it a little bit. I'm not going to say that you don't see it at all, but a lot of times I look at him, especially when he gets angry, and that's a scary new Steve. That's not like the Steve I married, the Steve I was dating. So, and those of you that are in relationships that where one person is suffering with something like that, you probably have a good idea of what I'm talking about or where I'm going with that. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, I would,
hopefully you'll get sorted it out. And I would just mention maybe just getting an annual checkup with a doctor and just going through, his potassium levels and all different levels.
mhm.
And it could be an easy fix, hopefully. I'd love to see Steve back to his. But with Steve, for me, I find he's hilarious. I find him brilliant. Like, he's funny.
He is a
Um,
very funny man. And that's
yeah,
one of the things that I fell in love with him, and not his sarcastic biting sort of
right. Yeah.
stuff, but the pure hilariousness of some of the stuff he says. If you listen to those old commentaries, you'll hear it. I mean,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
he
Yeah.
had me spitting out my drink and almost spitting out food and everything else when if I happened to be eating when we were doing a commentary. I almost had coke come out my nose. And I don't mean
Right.
cocaine, I mean like a soft drink, guys. Um, but because he made me laugh so hard when he and I did that offerings commentary several years ago, that's one of the funniest commentaries I think we did together.
Yeah, I need to take that, mate, because I've got quite a few of them. I remember you doing the absurd one as well. That was a good one. I think I
Yeah,
listened to that two
I
or three
haven't
times.
listened to that one for a while, but yeah.
Yeah.
But guys, it's now almost 11, and
Right.
Lord knows what time it is where Darren's at. Um,
It's coming up to 4 o'clock, and I've got to be
oh,
up
holy
in about
cow!
5 hours. But that's all right. I've
So,
enjoyed it. It's worth it anyway.
but
Might
I
feel a bit shitty tomorrow, but I'll be all right.
I hope not. I hope not. But I do want to thank Darren again for being on here with me. We've had one heck of a conversation. We still got 5 people in here. Uh, but I want to thank everybody in the chat. This was a good discussion within the live stream and in the chat and everything. Um, and I've let everybody know the upcoming things that we've got going on. I promise I'll try to get the promotion up for the things we discussed tonight. So Anyway, with all that being said, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night and let everybody get some sleep. Let Darren get some rest before he needs to start his day. And I will see everybody on the flip side. So everybody have a good night now. And a good morning, Darren.
And you. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.